Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Brit Elders. She's an investigative author and documentary filmmaker. She worked as a producer, I believe, on Sightings back in the 90s. That was like one of my favorite shows when I was a kid, was Sightings. That was like the best thing on TV for me because there wasn't much to cover the kind of topics that interested me. So I'd love to talk to her about that. She worked on the Billy Myers case, one of the first, I think, people to documentarians to really work with Billy Myers. Classic UFO case. You know, some say hoax, some say not. I don't know. I don't know. I actually really interested in the Billy Myers case a long time ago. I have a whole book collection on that case, so I might be able to pick her brain about that. I still know what I think about that. I know last week, Halloween show, I said I was going to have Dr. Raymond Moody and Paul Perry on. That got rearranged, rescheduled. I got, thankfully, and thank you to Brit Elders who are last minute taking this guest spot tonight. So we got her on, but I will hopefully get Raymond Moody and Paul Perry rescheduled. And for those that don't make it in the show, I'll make it announced now. Next Sunday, I will not have a show. I have some work obligations, so no show next Sunday. I'm so sad. I know it's a busy time for me this year in November, really busy time. But we'll be back the following week, and I know it's the holidays, so we missed some shows. But just hang in there. Once we get into the new year, it'll all be rolling again. I'm already getting booked into January 2024 with guests, so we got plenty coming. All right, we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and roll on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Brit Elders, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. Joining me, as usual, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you back. Now, we were just talking. I can't believe we're in November. We had the Halloween show already in November. I get so wore out. I'm a little tired tonight, I'll admit. I work retail, and this is my weekend off, and I totally decompressed. And I should have took a nap today, and I didn't. And I'm feeling it. I work usually on Sundays, and I get home and take that power nap, and I'm ready to go. Today I got involved and stuff, had a day off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got a show. I better wake up. Here I am though, from not sunny anymore, but sunny Florida. Rob Archery, how you doing tonight, Rob?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, don't say that.
I'm sorry.
Say that. Horrible. It was snowing on Halloween, and my son Dean was like, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I'm like, shut your mouth.
Yeah, I saw your picture, and I was asking Jamie, I was like, was that snow on the ground?
Yeah. Liam didn't even hand out candy. Or all Liam did was hand out candy. He didn't go trick or treating because he's like, "Oh, screw this! It ain't worth this. Mommy's got bags of candy at home, anyways. Why am I gonna go try and go through the snow and cold for it?" All right, enough of that. We got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start off this one because last week we had an article about how scientists have discovered that the moon may be way older than what we thought. Like the Earth's 4.2 billion, 5 billion, somewhere around 4 or 5 billion years old, right? That the moon might be 40 or 60 million years old. Well, now other scientists doing their sciencey things. Evidence of protoplanet Theia found deep inside Earth's mantle. And if you don't know what that theory is with Theia, that the moon was formed from a collision of Earth and another terrestrial object in space. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network, we are a webcast. We stream out live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I will narrate as best as possible. If you don't want to come and watch the videos or see the photos, there is some stuff tonight. You might want to come see them. All right, so evidence of protoplanet Theia found deep inside Earth's mantle. While the exact circumstances that brought about the formation of the moon have long been debated, today most scientists tend to subscribe to a theory known as giant impact hypothesis, which suggests that the moon formed from the debris created by a cataclysmic impact between the early Earth and protoplanet named Theia approximately 4.5 billion years ago. So how does that work if the moon is 60 billion years old? They don't know their ass from their heads on these things. I just had the scientist last week say that 40 to 60 million years old. We live in a simulation. It's the Matrix. Who cares? I'm joking. No, I don't believe that. But I'm just saying they have no idea. I do like this one because they named the protoplanet Theia, which was the name if we were to have a girl, but we had two boys, we were going to name a daughter Theia. I always liked that name. But I find it funny. This scientific study comes out just right after the other one that said totally different.
Exactly.
I mean, they're just all talking out their ass. Ass is the word. What's the magic word tonight? You can get away with saying I'm going to let go. Ass, yeah. You can tell I'm tired, right? Okay. Speaking of more we don't know about even our own ancient past, I saw this one was really interesting. Giant pyramid buried in Indonesia could be the oldest in the world. Giant underground pyramid hidden beneath a hillside in Indonesia far outdates Stonehenge or Giza pyramids and may come to rival the oldest megalithic structures ever built by human hands. Remember the name, Gunung Padang. Remember the name, Gunung Padang. That's what it says in the article. I'm sure I butchered that. Exceptional hillsides of the ancient stone structure on the island of West Java is sacred to locals who call this kind of structure a Pundin Bernandak, meaning step pyramid for the terraces that lead up to its peak. Archaeologists have barely brushed the surface of the site, yet is already shaping up to be a remarkable testament to human ingenuity. What they did is it's an ancient volcano, and it's easy rock to carve, so they carved all over it, into a pyramid, and inside it's subterranean pyramid. But was the year on that? What do they think that goes back to? Because let's see. I'm trying to get to the good part here. More than 16,000 years before present, possibly as far back as 27,000 years ago. Look, the oldest they push the pyramids back to is maybe 10,000 years. See, I think the pyramids are older than what they think. At least the big one. Again, like I said, they're all talking out their butt. They really don't know.
I think they're older than they say.
Yeah. Because they've been living on the same university narratives of history for so long that nobody wants to speak out against somebody else on challenging what the history might be.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Heather Lynn on there here a couple times, an archaeologist that we've talked about that with that, and this is why this stuff gets kind of buried, even though it's buried. It's important, and it could really call to question what we really know of our history. Because 16,000 years ago, we should have been like barely, putting two stones together, not building ancient pyramids.
Exactly.
See, I believe that there's ancient civilizations were far more advanced than whatever we could imagine. And then we blew ourselves up, and
Or that's just
put
where
ourselves
they
back into the Stone Age and started over.
Exactly. That's just as far as they got. Like, this is as far as we're going to get before it starts back over.
Rinse and repeat.
Yep.
Rinse and repeat.
Once you start questioning reality and, that history can't be real and everything's a lie, you start just saying, hey, I can be anything. I can be a fur person. Or I can be...
South Park episode.
I can be a real-life vampire. We got one of those. I love these ones. It's been a while. Got another guy, and I'm not trying to make some of you. If you're a real-life vampire, please call me. We'll get you on the show. I'd love to talk to a real-life vampire. I've always been fascinated with the idea. So we got 43-year-old, not 430 years old. No, a 43-year-old self-proclaimed vampire who goes by the name Ludovic maintains that he is the real deal. But you're only 43 years old. Okay. I'm older than this vampire. I'm 44. Fictional vampires remain a staple of books, movies, and TV shows for years, but there are a few individuals who claim to be actual real-life vampires who generally drink blood and who are unable to go out into the sun. One such person is 43-year-old Joseph Burris of Colorado, also known as Ludovic, a man who claims to have first identified as a vampire 23 years ago after tasting his own blood. Okay. Since then, he has adopted numerous vampire traits, ranging from his gothic dress and his sense to penchant for feasting on the blood of other people. Gross. He even has a condition that makes him burn very easily in sunlight. I was always thinking outside the box of normal life to help me identify with more of what sat in my soul. If I'll just say it here. If you're the real thing, then it'll come naturally. If not, then nothing will ever happen. Okay. I've only fed on the blood of a few trusted people, and I prefer to be the blood from lovers. It's important to always have lovers or donors tested for HIV and AIDS before any action. Yeah, because blood is gross and has lots of diseases besides those, if you didn't know. Being who you are should always come naturally from within. It should be so strong others can feel who you are without any exotic clothes or actions of any kind. Okay, get rid of the exotic garb. I want you to cut that blonde hair. Actually, give yourself a mullet. And then will they see you who you really are? Ludovic.
By what? Drinking your blood?
It's a bad health choice. I'm gonna say. I mean, at least he's only got a few trusted people he does it with. Consenting adults.
The first rule of Vampire Club.
Don't talk about.
First rule of Vampire Club is don't talk about Vampire Club.
You're right. Yeah.
If you're a vampire, I don't think you have to say you're a vampire.
See, I've always been fascinated, feeling like there could possibly be something out there that resembles a vampire, or some kind of creature or person, or I don't know. But I just think
vampires all over my cats right now, sucking the blood out of them. Those are little vampires.
Yeah, fleas. Yeah, but
I saw a show last night about food in Ethiopia. Those people drink blood every day, so they got
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but human blood?
They coagulated blood too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just drinking human blood. There's diseases, and it's nasty.
It's dirty.
It's so dirty, and I don't know. I mean, hey, live it. I'm a libertarian. This guy should live his life. He wants to be Ludovic,
yeah,
vampire.
He wants.
I'm a race star.
But you see the people walking around with that special, little razor blade, pinky ring thing, ready at any time.
Yeah. Hot Topic's favorite customer. Hot Topic. Burning down Hot Topic. Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I remember our bell would have a couple different colors that claimed to be vampires. It's interesting. We had a really cool story. It was Michael, what was his name? It was on the show. It taught him when he was a kid, he met a family of vampires. That was an interesting story. All right, next up. All right, so we got some weirdness here. They say shape-shifting in Mexico. Perplexing piece, and this is from Coast to Coast AM. Perplexing piece of security camera footage from Mexico shows what appears to be a shapeshifter that transforms from an animal into a person. This strange scene reportedly unfolded in the garage of a home in the city of Nava. In the video of the eerie incident was subsequently posted to TikTok. Here's your TikTok. In the footage, a man can be seen cleaning some chairs as his dog wanders around in the room. Suddenly, the animal and its tensions are drawn to the door of the garage, where a dark form resembling a four-legged creature seemingly manifests out of thin air. When the man goes to investigate what he has disturbed his dogs, oddly appears to shrink and transform into something else entirely. Yeah. All right, go ahead and play it. So, yeah, it's going to be up in the corner. You're going to see it look like something like a dog, like in the corner there in the shadow. Like, it's like, yeah, you see it's dog leg. Right? And you see his dogs. They're reacting to it. They're like, no. The only thing I have problem with is when this thing changes, you don't get the full picture because it's somehow conveniently, this guy who's filming it off, I assume, a computer screen, turns his phone just slightly when whatever changes happens. Just watch. So he's like bending down. The owner's like, whatever he sees there, he's like had it. He's leaving. And there's an interview TV you can watch, but it's all in Spanish. And 2 years of Spanish, I only could make out a little bit of what he was saying. But the person, has come about. Now it's totally a person. But you notice how the camera panned away?
Who's holding the camera? That's not.
I'm guessing the owner, the guy that you see in the garage,
he's
filming
like way
it off
up
of
in the
CCTV.
rafters.
No. Well, the camera is. The person filming is filming it off their TV screen because it's their CCTV security footage. They probably don't have the subscription to save the recording, so they're just replaying it and recording it off their phone.
Okay, I didn't understand why it was so shaky.
All right, but it's shapes. But like, see how he turns when it turns into a person is a little suspect. But you can see a person there, like almost a kid. Looks like they're trying to grab the garage door and get out. I've heard, shapeshifters in Mexico, Don Juan Carlos Castaneda, he would have said they were real. I don't know. But it's TikTok.
One more time. I see it. Oh, it's TikTok?
Yeah. But go ahead and play it one more time. But this guy actually went on the news and talked about his experience. So.
Yeah, the news also played the 42 oysters thing the lady ate, and that turned out to be all set up. Fox did.
Well, news used to be just an organization that had to exist because they had to have their TV license. It was an obligation to do the news. They never made money on the news. Now they have to make money. So they're getting more sensational and crazy. But I don't know. I mean, this is interesting, the way that it transforms. I would love to hear more of what this guy's story is.
So this event happened, and afterwards they're like, holy S.
He leaves. Watch, the dogs are like following him, and one of the dogs even comes back. Look, it's like.
Well, maybe because
the dogs are too spooked to go near it. Animals' reactions in videos I do like. I gotta say, when I have a video that has animal reactions, I am interested because it's hard to fake that.
But if it was a setup and the guy's walking out, he can go, and the dogs would follow him out, and then once they followed him out, the dogs would just run back in because they were following him for a second.
Yeah.
Because we don't know exactly.
But you see how the camera turns right when the total transformation happens? It seems like it's happened. He turns. I don't know. That bothers me.
And it doesn't turn right. This is like a pan tilt zoom. Those are expensive cameras to have a pan tilt zoom like that.
That's not him pan tilt zooming. It's literally the same shot. He's just taking his camera with his phone to his TV, to the screen monitor. I zoomed in. It doesn't pan or zoom.
When it turned, even
that was just his phone. That's what I'm saying. He turned his phone. That makes me suspicious of it.
Gotcha.
All right. Next up, though, another one. This one they got Coast to Coast AM got, but it's from not far from me, Evansville, Indiana. And it was a Coast to Coast listener, Norman, writes that he and his wife were returning home from shopping in Evansville, Indiana, September 27th, when they saw this pulsating red light, almost metallic in color. At first, there was one large one, and then a second one came out of nowhere and stayed in the moment. It's a very short clip, but it's a big fire red orange ball. And he said it knew it wasn't the sun. I don't know. I would think it was the sun setting. If I would just to catch this and be like, I caught a UFO.
It looks like the sun on like a small, when there's like smoke in the air.
But then when you get close to it, it looks like a big red fireball.
Yeah, it looks like out here in California when you film a sun with fire,
it's the camera.
smoke and haze in the air.
I don't know. You would think, they drive there, they see, they know where the sun's at, that this isn't the sun, that they would know this isn't the sun.
Well,
They're seeing it with their eyes and they know. But I don't have like northwest east direction to know.
I just know it looks like a sun when there's fire, smoke in the air.
It's possible. I don't know. But like I said, I would think they would know what the sun is. I don't know if that is. I mean, it looks like when you zoom in like a red ball.
Maybe they know it is the sun and they just want views.
I don't know.
I don't trust it.
I know. So not trustworthy.
I've become the most skeptical, untrusting.
I know.
I've replaced. Yeah.
Well, now I've dissed on Sean Kirkpatrick now quite a bit. It took me a year to get their website up. Now the AARO are launching a new internal reporting tool for UFO sightings, but that's not for people like Norman. They still got to go to coast or MUFON. This is for people within the military. Kirkpatrick, who heads up the All-Domain Anomaly Research Resolution Office, is one of the many officials who have called for more openness in reporting and investigating UFOs in recent years. He was pretty pissed off when David Gersh went to Congress and didn't go to him. Remember that? Even though the new reporting tool is designed to make it easier than ever to submit details of such sightings, it's not available to the general public, or in fact anyone outside a small circle. According to Kirkpatrick, the tool will be restricted to current or former U.S. government employees, service members, or their contractors with direct knowledge of alleged UFO U.S. government programs or activities related to UAPs dating back to 1945. It just took you how long to do that since you got your funding? I don't know. And will we hear about any of this? No. I just remember how upset he was that all these people didn't come to me. Well, you're just put up you really are just getting people to report now, a year and a half later. I don't know. Like, I don't trust the whole David Gersh thing either. So, like I said, X-Files taught me a long time ago, trust no one.
Yes. Well, I barely
and you know
trust
how.
myself.
Yeah, I know. And, when they say it's UFO disclosure, I go, yeah, right. And when we're going to be getting into the 2024 political season, I don't like politics. They all suck. But Biden has had the pressure of people saying, and maybe he's listening about doing something about AI because it's developing fast. We talk about on the show all the time how fast AI is developing and dangerous it could be. And you know what? He's put together some executive orders to do something, right? I'm not going to read the whole article because we don't have all that time. But there is an article, Unexplained Mysteries. It has a shorter article, Science and Technology. I think that's what it is under Biden's new executive order on regulating AI. Here's what it all means. What it all means is they basically regulate stuff like, people using AI or faking people's identity, or doing it to, what are your rights to your voice and face and image used in AI, safety and security standards for AI, privacy protections, equity and civil rights. How does that apply with AI? Oh, because you could program an AI to be racist. That's right. Okay. Consumer rights, jobs, innovation, competition, international leadership, and AI governance. Does anybody... That's the list of 8 things that this covers. Anybody think of what else is missing from that?
I can think of several things.
Safety and security standards for AI, privacy and protections, equity and civil rights. Okay. Consumer rights, jobs, innovation, competition, international leadership, AI governance. What is missing? Oh, I know. Anything to do with using AI for weapons in the military. That is conveniently missing from any of this. We're doing something about AI, people. We're really getting on this. What's AI? I just pooped myself. Yeah. Biden's ambitious plan. Oh, very ambitious. But you don't want to, hamper the military's development of AI and what they're doing with it.
I can think of a lot of things they've left off this list. But that's a big one.
Yeah, not even covered, not even mentioned, not even thought of. I wonder why.
It was thought of, it just wasn't mentioned.
It wasn't an accident.
No, it is not an accident. And I'm sorry, we have the most warmongering piece of crap right now in office, but they've all been warmongering pieces of crap most of the time. Even when they don't go to war, they can be, because then they're selling arms to people secretly or whatever, or not so secretly, and funding because they're all get controlled by the military-industrial complex, and that's who controls our president and all the other presidents, and that's why he isn't going to talk about AI advancement in the military, because he doesn't want to piss off his friends at Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or Boston Dynamics or any of these other people are going to be making stuff, Skynet. This is how AI and Skynet happen, because you have politicians in charge that look the other way because they're getting loads of cash for it somehow. I mean, how many wars we're ready to start right now? And they're already using drones as bomb things in the Russians and Ukrainians against each other. And I'm just waiting for some crazy people to use it in some kind of terrorist attack. The murder bot scenario.
They're using it now in the propaganda, because now a lot of people don't believe the stuff in Gaza and the things that are happening, like the beheaded babies, all this and that, the storming through the houses, killing them. They're saying that's not real, though. That's just AI propaganda.
But they have a point. Look, Ben Shapiro, and I, no disrespect to Ben, and I don't think he purposely knew or did it. It wasn't that, but he fell for it. He shared a photo of look at this. How can you ignore this? And it was supposed to be a burnt child.
That was one thing out of a crap ton of footage that we have.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I'm not discounting either side here. I'm just saying that either side is using AI to generate propaganda and false images. You don't know anymore in the land if it's real. Exactly,
and that's the point.
Go back to X-Files. Trust no one.
Well, remember the movie Wag the Dog, and how they fake a war and all this stuff. I mean, we live now and with the ability to visually fake everything, anything. Like, we can show you a newscast and people being blown up, and none of it ever happened. None of it ever happened.
I have to double, triple check things. They even had that thing the other day where it was Biden talking about the draft. And then the guy who actually put it together, I can't remember his name, says at the end, this is an AI that we put together in the case of a draft occurring. But the thing is, people that didn't see that part, that actually saw him talking about the draft, and the men and women went crazy thinking
because they thought it was him.
It looked so realistic, and most AI I can kind of tell, but the way they did this one was, I just saw some
actress. I can't remember which actress recently. Scarlett Johansson's suing somebody for using her voice and image in an AI ad to sell something. Good for her. Sue the hell out of them.
Yeah,
But that's that. We are fast approaching the times where, we're already there. I shouldn't say fast approaching. We're there. We're there. You cannot tell what's real or not. You can't trust anything you see on any news or anything anywhere.
If they present video evidence now, you can just say, well, that's not me. How do I know that wasn't AI generated? You can't prove that was really me.
Yeah, I know. That's where we are. Land of illusion. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. We'll keep looking at the weird and going, is that AI? Every week, every Sunday. Our guest tonight is Britt Elders. She is an investigative author and documentary filmmaker. We'll be talking to her tonight about some of the things she's worked on, like the Billy Myers case. I think she did worked on sightings as a producer. Worked on a whole documentary series on Mexico and UFOs there. Maybe she has some thoughts on the shapeshifter. But we also open up phone lines later in the show if you want to call and ask questions of our guests or add to the conversation when we come back from the short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5x5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Britt Elders. Britt is an investigative author, documentary filmmaker who's traveled the world exploring a variety of topics, including the mysterious world of UFOs. She's participated in several in-depth investigations, including the Billy Meyer case and the waves of UFO sightings in Mexico, which began in 1991 and continues to this day. CEO of ShirleyMacLaine.com. Britt continues to research and write for herself and others. It's an honor to have her. I got her on last-minute scheduled guest, so I don't have too much background or book I've read of hers or anything. I'm just happy to have her here tonight because we had a little bit of rescheduling the last couple weeks to get this show up, so I'm glad to have her. If you have her questions, we'll be opening the phone lines in the next hour, but let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right, I see a blank screen of our other guest is in the lobby. Are you there, Brett?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I hear you're a little quiet. Are you able to up your volume a little more?
Is that better?
Oh, that's better.
Okay. Enough light?
Well, it's very dark, but I can see you.
Is that better?
I can see you there. Yeah, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. Well, thank you for coming on the show, especially last minute tonight. It's an honor to have you.
It's my pleasure being here. I listened to your opening earlier. That was fascinating. You kind of cover everything and move in all different directions. I really enjoyed it.
That's my World Wide Web of Weird. We do it every Sunday night, and I cover what's viral in the world. What you've investigated UFOs in Mexico? I mean, have you got into any shapeshifter stuff like that? What did we saw? Did you see that part?
Actually, yes. I've seen quite a bit of the footage that's come out of there. It's fascinating things. I mean, there's one particular image that sticks in my mind of a being that wasn't human, but it didn't look like anything I'd ever seen before, running behind a train, and suddenly it became a dog. And it was filmed.
Sounds
and
familiar.
People were watching it. Yeah, it's been around now for a few years, but when I
think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking.
I was a real big fan in my 20s of reading Carlos Castaneda's Don Juan. And I was fascinated with that book. And in that world that he describes, they are in Mexico, shapeshifters.
Well, up at the reservations here, too. In northern Arizona and Utah, it's quite common. You hear the stories from the indigenous peoples all over the world about this.
We talk about it, we've had guests on about Dogman and Jersey Devil and all these other weird creatures. You wonder how much of these things are walk-ins or shapeshifters or what's going on. But that's why the show's named Paranormal Soup, and I go in all these different directions because I believe it's all connected.
Yeah, I think it is. I really do think it is. There are a lot of different things tied to UFOs that actually sort of manifest in the shape-shifting aspect of things.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of it over the years. I mean, this is something I've been involved with since 1976. So we're going back, before we had personal computers.
Right.
And cell phones and fun things like that.
How did you get involved in this field? Like, what brought you into the UFO? Because it's not a general career recommendation for most people, especially in 1976.
No, it's not. And my background is in English, so this isn't anything I was really into. A friend of ours, Wendell Stevens, he was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He had heard about this case in Switzerland, the Meyer case. A woman had come in from Switzerland to sit with him and show him photographs and talk to him. He called my husband and I and said, "You got to get down here and see this." We went down, took a look at it, very skeptical, it's too good to be true. The photographs were so crystal clear. We sat for about 3 hours, talked with her, and then we came back home. He lived in Tucson, we were in Phoenix, so it was a 2-hour drive. And then what happened was he decided to jump into it, Wendell did, and he went over to Switzerland. When he came back, he asked us to put our company, which is an electronic countermeasure company called Intercept, it's internationally recognized, into the investigation of a UFO case. Now, we're busy keeping people, Fortune 500 companies that have potential issues of wiretapping and computer tapping at the time, free from all of that. And he wants us to put our company behind a UFO investigation. So it took a while. We finally decided,
I wonder.
Okay, there's enough here. We'll look at it. And that's really how we got involved. We had a sweep, an intercept sweep over in Europe. We did that, and then from there we went into Switzerland. We met with Meyer. We stayed about a week. He turned over inner negatives, the closest negatives to the original as possible, movie footage, metal samples, audio recordings of the craft, and we interviewed, at that time, that first trip, we interviewed about 15 witnesses. Since then,
this is early on in the Billy Myers case. If it's 76, yeah.
77, yeah.
77, because it was 75, wasn't it, when he really started to first come out?
Yes,
Was it
that's
like
when he first started taking the pictures of the craft and getting a lot of publicity on that.
I've been fascinated. I actually pulled this out of my library tonight. When I was really young, I would go find used books.
Oh my God, light years, yes.
Yeah, and I found this book, and I was you know, I had a book addiction, and I remember reading this scene in like a day or two. Like, wow. I totally went, like, when there was Gary Kinder wrote it. Yeah, and I was fascinated by Billy Myers. As the years go on later, though, there's a lot of skeptics that come out to say he faked this photograph, or, you know, he used this image from a TV show or something like that and used it in a photograph, or he used pictures of dinosaurs from a children's book for his picture of that. What do you, I mean, I'm not trying to like put you on the spot.
Please do. I don't mind at all.
I'm still open to the case. I've always been fascinated by Billy Meyer and what's been going on, you know, with him all these years.
Back away from or hide from the questionable aspects.
Yeah.
There's aspects of the case that make absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And then there are things that, when you've got JPL looking at photographs and saying, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it isn't fake. And that you read in light years. All of that investigation of the solid, hard evidence is substantial, and it holds up. Now, there's a photograph of someone called Ascot. We really have no idea where that came from, who it is, and what it is of. But a lot of people have thought that it looked like some Dean Martin singer. I don't know. We only investigated the things that were really tangible that you could bump on and go from there. I mean, the movie footage is phenomenal. The metal samples were amazing. They were analyzed at IBM. They were also looked at MIT, and then they went to Europe into other labs. So, and there's something that we couldn't put together at that time on this planet because of the way the metal was laid in with crystalline structure in between metals. Couldn't be done here. We needed to be in space to be able to do it.
That's what I'm saying. The Billy Myers case still fascinates me this day because there's so many unanswered questions of stuff like this. But I get the skeptics. I've seen the evidence that they presented that they say it came from Billy Myers. I'll ask you this: as somebody who was a part of the original investigation group, one of the things I've wondered is, like, you know, he's giving people stuff like, here's my photo album, and here's a copy or whatever. And there's a lot of people around him. Do you think there's bad actors that maybe have slipped in things that were fake to throw people off of the Billy Meyer case?
In the beginning, no, I don't. In the beginning, there was a lot of theft. People were
that too. I know that happened.
They were coming in and stealing the photographs right out of the photo books. And all he was trying to do, we found a thing with contactees. They have a tendency to, they have this great experience. Now, what do they do with it? They tell people. Yeah. Those people tell people. Then they're busy trying to prove it to not only themselves, but to everybody around them. So they're as open as they can be. And that's the way Billy was in the beginning. And he lost a lot of material. We were very fortunate to get the inner negatives we got, to get the movie footage, the medals, and the original sound recordings. But people were just taking anything that they could. And this was back in 76 and 77.
Still now, I think it was in 2015 or something like that. They had an auction of one of his photos. It went for like 15,000 or something like that.
It's outrageous.
Yeah,
it was really, truly outrageous. The case isn't going to go away. It's something that needs to be studied for a long, long time. When you go back to the fact that we didn't have the technology at that time that we have now, to really delve into it. And then you look at, just the sound recordings. We had to go to a facility in Groton, Connecticut, naval facility, where they run a computer that takes all of these sounds and it comes back and says, this sound, we don't know what it is.
Right.
So what do you do with that? You know, how much further can you take it? And that's sort of where we were.
I guess we should tell people. We're talking like I forget this sometimes. Whoa, just got a major echo. Okay, it went away. Audio scare there. But a lot of people might not be familiar with Billy Meyer's case. Even if some people are just coming to the UFO phenomenon. You know what I'm saying? That there's so much history. Like I did I had an interview with an ABC news reporter, local ABC affiliate at the time a couple years ago, because of the whole disclosure movement, and she was so nice and everything. But like, when we start talking about this subject, I'm like, you are so out of your depth. You have no idea, and you have the interest, but it's like a huge rabbit hole you're about to go down.
Yes.
You want to take a ride, as Art Belby say? You ready? Because I'm like you're just scratching the surface of UFO lore, and I say lore because we don't know what's right. Here we are. We're talking about the World Wide Web of Weird. I don't know if you heard that part where I'm like, we're in the day and age we definitely don't know what's real anymore. I mean, it can be literally all fake on a computer. Very true.
That's what makes this case so much fun.
Right.
Because it couldn't be.
It was way before that.
Yeah. There weren't personal computers. There weren't cell phones where you could capture this. Billy Meyer, just to give a little background, when we first heard about the case in 1976, he was working as a night watchman. He has one arm. He lost one arm in a bus accident in Turkey. Very humble man, very poor man, didn't have a lot of anything. 3 children, a wife who was Greek. And he was just going about his day. And then he started getting sensations, cooling sensations across his forehead, is what he said.
Yeah.
And he would feel like he had to get on his moped and go out into a field. And then a ship appeared. This beautiful, amazing, literal disc appeared. And he was allowed to photograph it. His camera was broken. It had one setting. That was it. So he couldn't zoom in or anything else. It was just that aperture that he had to work with. Sound recordings, he did a old cassette recording, the little tiny ones. That's how he got the sound recordings of the craft. All of this was happening before we had any of this great technology. It's also a little scary, but yeah.
And I remember reading the book, him basically having people around him that would witness him disappear. Pretty much. Like he'd
true.
Be there and be gone.
Well, we lived at the farmhouse. My husband and I lived at the farmhouse for over a year collectively. If you took all the trips we made, we lived right there.
Yeah.
My husband actually witnessed one of those vanishings. And It was strange because they were up on a roof working, he and Billy, and they were patching a roof. And he was talking to him. The ladder was sitting on this side, on the left side of Lee.
Yeah.
Billy was on the right side. He turned around to talk to him. Billy's gone. The roof has this huge pitch. There was no way that he could have crawled down.
He would have heard him.
Absolutely. And the ladder was on the other side, and Billy did not go down the ladder. He just was gone. So
for how long? For how long was he gone?
3.5 hours, and he came walking down the road. 3.5 hours later, he said, well, they just needed to talk. So that was it.
Wow.
And, yeah, but there are many people that have been with him when he's gone to a contact. And they'll see him walk into the woods, and then they'll see him come back. And that's it. One night, we were filming. We had a Japanese film crew with us, and we were over staying next to the house in a little camp trailer. And we saw Billy go walking behind the house out into the forest. So we thought, okay. Well, he came back hours later. The next day, we got the Japanese film crew, and we tracked where he walked to, which was this clearing in the middle of the forest. His footprints disappeared in the middle of that clearing. So, yes, the disappearances happen.
It's either that or I'm gonna throw out the skeptic. It's either that or he went and walked and he stood there for 3.5 hours.
But then he
that's what he
different road.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why when I was fascinated. Like I said, I finished that book in like a day or two because I was fascinated with the idea. And I have friends that are alien abductees. Yeah, they don't have a good time.
Right.
Usually, maybe they're my labs. I don't know. And I've had several on this show, and I've also had people like Billy that are contactees. They have this more different, like, open experience, and that's what I guess fascinated me with Billy Myers, because before Billy Meyer, I had read Whitley Strieber's Contact, or Contact.
Communion.
Yeah. Contact. Sorry, Carl Sagan, another good book. But I had read that had a friendly alien that looks like your dad in it, but in a Communion, it's not a good time at the time. Really, Strieber gets way more spiritual about it later on, I think, in his life, more accepting, but definitely kind of frightening in that first book. So Billy Myers was like a different experience for me, and I as a kid of the '90s and that stuff, kind of reading this. Now I know, as being 44, all the lore of UFO, like the Space Brothers from Venus and the 50s movements, and there was a lot of this more positive kind of alien contact at the time, and then it kind of went away to this more abduction, scary phenomenon, and then but the contactees like Billy have kind of been lost.
Unfortunately, that's true. There are a lot of contactees out there. I've met with several of them. They're wonderful people. One of the things that we found, we had a lot of people that believed and felt they had been abducted and came to us to talk through what happened to them. When they got past the fear element of it, they were much more open to it, and they were receptive to having future contacts and conversations with the people that they felt had abducted them. So that was kind of interesting to get into too. John Mack did a lot of wonderful work in the field of abductions, and he found that was quite often true.
It seems like it.
Yeah. But the contactees, there's still a stigma, unfortunately, that keep people from coming forward and saying, hey, this actually happened to me. There's too much of looking at what happened to Billy and some of the other contactees, Sixto Paz down in Peru, things like that, where people are just, they swamp them. We've been there when people have arrived at midnight, banged on the door, and expected Billy to come out and talk to them. They become very demanding. You
humans.
To me, yes, humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's how I feel. I've always felt I was an alien. I don't know, at heart, because I don't understand that kind of behavior from people. It's like, what does he owe you?
Right.
Nothing at all.
But they want to know. They're curious. I can't fault their curiosity.
I'm curious too, but I also have respect for others. I don't know.
There's the difference. That's the difference. Yeah.
But yeah, but that's the thing. Nowadays, I feel like there's almost this apathy or lack of, like here they are literally having hearings about it. I mean, I don't know about you. You've been in this field a lot longer than me, but I feel like I've had an interest in it since I was a little kid. To see this, and like doing an interview with this reporter on this a year or two ago, it's just like everybody's like, oh yeah, aliens, cool. Okay, what's on my phone? Instagram, yeah, okay,
Yeah. There's something else that I see going on just from talking to people after the hearings. Because the way they were presented, everybody walked away with a sense of, do I need to be afraid of these things? And I mean, we play in fear so much today on all levels, whether it's wars or government or policies or politics. Now they're pulling UFOs back into that be afraid of it thing.
I'm not, see, what I would say to that, though, is maybe we shouldn't ask the question, should we be afraid of them? But should we be afraid of what our so-called leaders are doing and reacting to them?
Mm-hmm. They should maybe be afraid of us. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. Unfortunately, I think that's really true.
If we're shooting these things down, I doubt we have the capabilities, but there's reports that we have, we've shot these things down. How are we reacting? If they're peaceful, then man, we're really screwing the pooch, sending fighter jets up after them and stuff,
Well, we have a tendency, if we don't understand it, then
shoot it.
Yeah, and shoot it is a good option. It's a good option, absolutely. But no, that's a big thing if we don't understand it. So the more that we can begin to understand what any off-world being is thinking, the better off I think we're going to be. And it's a situation where the reason that we decided to take Volume 1 and Volume 2, which were these 12 by 12 inch photojournals that we did on the case, combine them into one book and re-release them on the 45th anniversary, was to bring a little more light into a field that's becoming very, very dark. It's so taken by abduction and be afraid, and do we need to have our military out there shooting these things down and things like that. We need a case that is more upbeat, has a good message, which I love. The bottom line message, it's that we're not the only thinking beings in the universe, and we have to wake up to that.
Yeah, so Billy, if I remember right, it's been a long time since I read the book.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, Plejorans? Was that that he called them? Or is it, that was like the main people?
In the name that's worked around in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Pleiadians is what they went by originally. Yeah.
Pleiadians?
Pleiadians.
They did go by Pleiadians.
Yeah.
From the Pleiades, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why, you tell people, because I know there's people that are not familiar with Billy Myers, you know, not everybody is. They, like I said, there's more newer people, but what was the messages? Why were they talking to Billy? What was he giving as information?
They were talking to him because they said that, first of all, we did have to understand we're not the only thinking ones out there, but they wanted to have contact and let it build so that people could understand that they are, in their words to him, their forefathers are our forefathers. So they claim to have come to this planet, to have helped populate this planet. And in all of the processes going on, Billy ended up with volumes of contact notes. Really remarkable things, talking about their view of truth, what it was like living on the planet, which was Era. Different things that have not happened in most contact cases until recently.
What would be the recent thing?
Lisa Royale has been having a contact with Arcturians for some time, and she keeps track of all of their conversations and their dialogues. It's not like they're trying to tell us how to live our life or anything. They're just explaining who they are and letting us take from that what we will. And we actually published 3 or 4 volumes of the messages, the different contact notes that Billy had put together years ago. And they're just, go ahead.
I was to say, you do hear a lot of the same themes from contactees and abductees too.
Right.
That, you know, you're humans, you're screwing up, you're destroying your planet.
Yeah.
Get your crap together in the bluntest of terms, you know. Right. But it's you damn humans, you know, stop. You're going to blow up your planet. I hear it all the time from guests I've had, books I've read, you know, that they're warning us.
Yeah. Well, they do have a warning, and it's interesting because he asked another contactee whose name was Ptah, "What are you here for? Are you going to interfere with us?" And he said, "No, we will not interfere yet." And one of the things that came out of that conversation was the concern about nuclear. And if we create a nuclear war here, it doesn't just affect Earth.
Right.
It affects the entire freaking cosmos. And we have to relate to that from the standpoint of it's not just about us, it's about everything out there.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like you have Billy Myers' case early on as a contact case. It's very similar to what we had in America in the 50s. You know, different people that had like contact experiences. Again, they were warning about nuclear bombs. You know, and it seems like, you know, after 1947, we did have that big UFO craze. We have Maelstrom, where they shut down the nuclear weapons.
Right.
There's the case in Russia where they turned them on. It seems like, you know that their whole interest is over nuclear power plants. Or think about the ships like the Nimitz and them. They have nuclear. They're nuclear powered. They're out there, you know, out in the ocean. You know, that they are interested in this ability that we now have. You know, we've discovered the ultimate fire. and you know, the question I hear people ask is, are they going to stop us from destroying ourselves? I'm not so sure of that.
I think if it would affect the other parts of the cosmos, they would.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would do it. But if it's just us, I think we have to deal with that lesson on our own. We created the problem. We have to cure the problem.
Yeah, we're not doing so good on that. I mean, that's why I'm saying I'm waiting for more UFO sightings to start happening. I think they are, because of the tumultuous times we're living in. I mean, we have the war in Ukraine, we have Israel and Palestine, we have tensions with China getting stronger. I don't know if aliens are aware of these things in human geopolitics, but I think they are.
I think they've got to be seeing what's going on. But it's like Mexico. Mexico, I mean, we've been working down there since 1991, when the first sightings started happening during the eclipse. It is wave after wave after wave of sightings. And we work with Jaime Maussan, who's just been so involved in all the things going on, not only in Mexico, but all around the world. Those people down there expect UFOs. They're looking forward to it.
It does seem like a totally different culture down there when it comes to the UFO topic. I've been critical of Jaime Maussan. I don't know him personally, but I've been critical of some of the cases he's covered. I will be open about that. There's some cases he's covered I've really had some issues with that, I think he does things that he gets involved in, like, because he's curious. But he gets, there's a lot of bullcrap in the UFO community. You know it. You've seen it, There's a lot of shenanigans going on. And I sadly, he's gotten caught up in it, just like some other people I love that have too in the past. It's just, it's like I said, we live in this land of we don't know what's real or not. And if you have maybe people have an interest in keeping things secret, I don't know how much they might be interfering, throwing misinformation out there to keep people off the trail of what is true and what is real.
That's a possibility. With Jaime, he's so eager to learn.
It's the eagerness.
Yeah.
That you gotta be ready. You can't promote something that's it's gonna be totally debunked easily. You gotta not let that happen, because it makes everything else look bad where the people are really having real experiences.
Which are you talking about?
There's the one case where he presented a photo that was supposed to be taken from inside of Area 51 of an alien body. It was actually a mummy from an exhibit. I forgot where. It's been a while, but that's just one of the examples. It just seems like that. It's like don't do the background research more. Don't put that out there till don't let them just rip it apart with something stupid like that. That's the things that's like when it happens. And that's this field. That is this field. I mean, we were talking about Corey Good in the whole 20 and back. Yeah. He promoted that for so long, and then he goes and turns around and sues people that are coming out saying, I was 20 and back and I had this story, and they came out with their story, and he wants to sue them for the copyright of it. That's not good for, so what's going on? Are you telling the truth? Right. Or was this all, or did you make it up? And you watch his testimonies on the lawsuits. It's, this kind of thing that's been happening in the field. I'm a big Art Bell fan. Right. And, he had tons of people on. It was, there are so many people that I found out years later were full of it that were on that show, and it's not Art's problem. He put on a good show and he did his best, but he's not a journalist. I'm not a journalist to investigate these things, he's giving people an opportunity to speak their case, and they do. And then you find out years later they were total con artists.
There's several problems, especially in this field. And one, quite frankly, is for so long there's been sort of a battle going on between UFO clubs. And so not a lot happens. They don't sit down and really delve into the material like it deserves. But another part of it is there are people out there that love the attention and go waving their little flags and make things up. And it is a bad rap on the entire culture and the entire view of UFOs. So yes, it does happen. And Jaime listens. I got to tell you, there was another one. Wendell Stevens was another one that was quite gullible. Very good investigator. But man, was he gullible. That's why when we got into things on an investigative level, because we were putting our company's name behind it, you had to be able to thump on it. If you couldn't, fine. And if it didn't pan out, you had to be able to say that too. That it's something is wrong here, which is why I don't mind talking about the weird photographs that Billy has. I don't know where they came from. I have no idea what reference they have. There are no witnesses to them or anything else. They're one of those anomalies that you sort of have to deal with there. It's easy to become gullible on this subject matter because you want it to be real. After a while, especially after we did all the analysis, it was like, oh my gosh, we just put it out there and let people make up their own mind. Because we were to the point we couldn't test it anymore. We couldn't do anything else with it. And when we started in Mexico and working down there, it was amazing. We would camp under the volcano, the Popocatépetl.
Your audio is getting really muffled. I don't know if you changed a position.
No, not really, but I'll speak louder.
There, that's better.
Okay, we were camping under Popocatépetl and filming these things. Yeah. And we would go into different places, like there's a little town there called Atlisco. And we interviewed the mayor and we talked to him. We said, are you afraid of them? And he says, no, they come every night. And we watched them. And if they were going to do something, they would have already done it. So we go up to this little hill where he suggests we go watch UFOs. It's called Casita Blanca. We had a blast. There were kids taking their grandmothers up to the top of the hill to watch the UFOs. The guys bringing their beer coolers up, their guitars. They were having a huge party waiting for these ships to show up. We're there with a film crew. We were with sightings one time and Japanese a couple of times. And they're just in shock because these people are so open and receptive. And their culture is to expect a miracle. So that's what they're looking for when they see these.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of miracles have been misidentified UFOs. Even Fatima, the Fatima incident. If you delve deep into that, with being seeing the Mother Mary and all that stuff. If you really dive deep into it, I think it's a UFO. I think it's a contactee experience. There's
a lot of people that have that thought. Unfortunately, nobody's around now to talk about what was actually seen and all of that. But yeah. It's a matter of keeping your mind open. And if we can do that, we can learn so much more than where we are right now.
Well, I think with the only thing I give good, that I think is good that's come out of the whole disclosure thing. I don't believe the government's really disclosing things. But I think but the media attention of it and talking about it in such official platforms has opened up the public that's been like this on their phone a little bit more to go, oh yeah, maybe that's real. I heard something about UFOs in the government or something. But it's people hear that have seen stuff, that have experienced stuff, hear somebody say that or be a little more open to it, they might start talking. Or more people are going to come out about it. I talked about it last week that now I had two celebrity stories, Shaq and Goldie Hawn, talking about their UFO experiences. And I'm like, just wait. Because there's going to be a whole landslide of celebrity UFO stories coming.
Yeah, I'm sure. Jason, why do you think people take it for granted?
I think we've been desensitized so much that we just figure our government's lying to us. We don't care. We're apathetic, and we got bigger problems to deal with in our lives, like just feeding our family.
Right.
You keep you busy enough with stress and turmoil and stupid stuff. People just tune it all out. They tune out. They can't accept the reality of it.
Yeah. Very, very true. Yeah.
I mean, you work for Shirley MacLaine. You run her website as a CEO. I saw that in your bio.
Best buddies for long time.
Well, I remember. I would love to talk to Shirley MacLaine. I remember she had a memoir. It came out, and Dennis Kucinich was running for president.
Yeah.
In the primary, and she just honestly tells a story about his encounter that she knew of. And then they totally beat him over the head with it. Like, he waits 23 minutes for a question at the primary. And Tim Russert, God bless his soul, waits 23 minutes to ask him a question. What does he ask him? He basically pokes fun at him for having this UFO experience that Shirley MacLaine, but about nothing about policy, whatever. And now look where we're at. You know, now these candidates are all ready to talk about it, or have, you know, we have congressmen talking about it. We've things have changed, you know. But back then, Dennis Kucinich, that was what, 2000? Was it 2003? I can't remember which election it was.
I think it was the one after Bush, so it would have been 2000
or 3 or 8. I can't remember, but I just remember it was not that long ago that just to say, oh, you openly admitted to seeing UFOs was to discount you.
They still do that in a way.
Yeah.
They put up the Navy footage originally on network. Okay, they sort of said, well, here's what the Navy says they saw, and we're going to call it a tic-tac. And it was just sort of like, don't really take it seriously. It's not a big deal. Okay. So that still is happening, and that does keep a lot of people at bay, and especially those that have had experiences.
Mylar balloon.
Oh, yeah.
Balloon,
or it's a drone.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like I said, we live in the land of illusion. We don't know.
Right.
But, you know, we're getting to that point now, though, where, again, I'm Art Bell fan. I remember him saying more than once on his show, it's like, if they ever let any of it out, if they disclose any of it, then it's a snowball effect. It's going to just roll down the hill and get bigger and bigger and bigger, because more and more people are going to ask questions like, well, okay, so you're admitting to something.
Right.
So do we have UFO crash? You know, the one thing they haven't gotten to is abductions or contactee experiences. They won't touch that with a 1,000,000-foot pole.
No, we're still looking for little things flying through the sky. But look what happened in Brazil when the Brazilian government came out and said this stuff is real. And we're going to create our own little group within the Air Force down there. That was amazing what happened, because they took the public's reporting and then they put it out in bulletins, and they talked about it. It was on the news, and it's become a fairly normal thing down there, and in other parts of the country or the world too.
Brazil's had some amazing history of UFO activity. I mean, you have about the Corrales, as they say it, Brazil, where they in the 70s were like shooting lasers and at people, and it was like a whole panic. The military got involved, and
and they had angel hair floating down, and so no, that's been going on down in South America. I've spent quite a bit of time down there, and they're like Mexico, very open, very receptive to anything like this, are curious about it, but want to know more about it. So
we could care.
And here we could care less.
You asked me why. I don't know. I don't know. I look at people all the time like, why aren't you interested in all this stuff? You know, like the weird, the strange, and the unusual that I am. I think you're crazy for not being interested in it. You're more interested in like what Kim Kardashian's posting on freaking Instagram.
Yeah. No, what's going to be the next fashion, or what's going to be this or going to be that? And there's nothing
scandal
deeper. Yeah. Well, scandal always sells. And it's like you were talking about earlier at the front end of the program about news. There isn't journalism anymore. There's no investigative aspect of things. There is the money pays for a particular viewpoint. And that's unfortunate. And that's where we are all over.
Back in the day, in the 60s or 50s, 60s, 70s, news for TV broadcasts lost money. It was a money loser. It never made money, and they knew that. They didn't care. They had to do it because it was part of their contract with the government, in a sense, you know. And when that kind of went out the window and they could now use it to make money, it's no longer news.
Right. Yeah. No, now it's used to promote things. It's not used to inform.
Promote, propagandize.
Right.
You know, That's, like I said, we live in scary times. You don't have a Walter Cronkite to say, I trust that guy. You know, I don't think anybody trusts any of those jokers on any of the news networks anymore. I hope not. Some do.
Right.
But, when it comes to them, like, actually disclosing things, I've also said that it's too complicated for any kind of, like, just one front disclosure. I mean, if you get down in the deep of the rabbit hole, even just the Billy Myers case alone,
right?
We're talking time travel. We're talking dimensions. We're talking all kinds of stuff that's just going to go
reincarnation.
Way over people. Reincarnation. Thank you. Something we talk about on the show all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's something that all of the contact cases that we have looked at, where people have actually had more than one encounter with the group from some other place, they all say the same things. And it is about dimensional shifts. It's about vibrational shifts. And how come we can't all see them? And there's a slight time warp there in the visual effects of the way they present themselves, things like that. There is an issue with reincarnation. I haven't run into a contactee yet that doesn't say they believe in reincarnation. Different things like that. They just sort of, no, we're not ready for it yet.
Yeah. I mean, try to explain to the public, like, your aliens are here and you're all been reborn over and over again. And some of you were actually ancient aliens in another life.
Right.
I'm like, Simon, I believe it. I mean, like, I have one weird experience I didn't really, talk a lot about for the first few years of the show, because I really didn't think about it until I had my friend Terry Lovelace on the show as an abductee. Brought my attention to a camping trip instead of my own, where I had something weird happen. I had what I thought was just a dream of being floated up out of this tent. There's a bright light. I'm hovering over the forest. There's a bright light behind me, and there's some higher self of me or whatever knowing, like, they found me.
Yeah.
And then I woke up in my tent with my boots off, which I'd gone to sleep with my boots on, and flipped around the other way. And then I had some weird stuff months later with Shadow Person. I don't know. So I had weirdness.
But
I don't know.
You feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, it was like I was at peace with it, but I was also like, that was just damn, they found me. And I don't understand that statement so much, but it makes me wonder about reincarnation.
Well, it makes me wonder, when you say they found me, what did they know you from?
Right, I don't know.
From your childhood? Was it from a past life? Was it,
Yeah, I don't think I was taken as a child. Not that I would know if I would know or remember, because it seems like they can blank that stuff out. But to this day, I can't think of anything weird in my childhood. I had a lot of weirdness in my childhood, like seeing spirits.
Yeah.
And, seeing a green floating head with my cousin, but I don't remember hardly any UFO stuff when I was a kid or anything like that. It was that camping trip that kind of set it off. And I just remember being, that experience. And I wrote it off as a dream and didn't want to think about it for years. Like, I had all this other weird paranormal stuff I'd talk about and get into, and UFOs being one of them. But I wrote that off as just a dream for years until I read Terry Lovelace's Incident at Devil's Den.
Right.
And it brought it all back. It just really, the emotion that he, brought out in his book, I connected with it I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. And then all these other memories I wrote off, like all these I just would write them off as dreams. One time I was sick, really, really sick. And I was in my 20s. I was a chain smoker. And I had a dream that I was taken I couldn't see their faces. But there's these doctors, aliens. I knew they were aliens in my mind. I knew they were aliens. They put this thing down my throat and this foamy fluid into I could see it, I could see it outside my body. So I just work it as a dream. But it's like I was in and out, and I could see them pumping this in, and they're telling me what they're doing. It's like they're showing me mentally, telepathy, what they're doing. And we're cleaning out your lungs. You need, chiding me for smoking. And when I woke up the next morning, I could barely breathe when I went to sleep that night. I thought I was going to die. When I woke up that morning, it was all gone.
Wow. That's really wonderful.
But I wrote that off. I wouldn't think about it. You know what I'm saying? I wrote it off, dream, until Terry's book, So, I think that's what's important about, the disclosure movement is more people that might have been locked in that mind loop where you just don't look at these things, start to think about them. But we really need the abduction and contactees to get their stories out, to reach those people who have been ignoring it for so long.
Well, let me ask, do you think it would have changed had you recognized it for what it was at the time it happened?
I don't know how I didn't. That's the weird thing. But because I've always been into like, I think part of me wrote it off because I had seen Fire in the Sky and Communion, and I've been into this stuff since I was a kid. When I was a little kid, I used to draw spaceships in a notebook. I drew blueprints. I was a total geek. I had very few friends. I was a nerd. Star Trek, sign me up. Felt like an alien. I wrote all this stuff, so I was always been into it. So when I have a dream about it, I just think that's just my subconscious. That's just not real.
Oh, okay.
And so I would write it off. But after getting to know abductees and really get to know them, it's one thing to read Ridley Strieber's book. I mean, there's some craziness that happens there. I've never had anything crazy like that, No. Even Terry Lovelace's book is credible, way different. He gets involved with like being super sick in one experience, the main experience where he has like radiation poisoning. Nothing like that,
Oh, wow.
But it was a connection with the emotion, I think, of that experience of the camping trip for me. Like I connected it with it because he was out with a best friend and I was too. Just brought that up. That's why I think it's important for people to get their contact and abduction experiences out there, because you're going to connect somehow with your experience to somebody else that's kind of been asleep on it. And I say asleep because, like I said, I just never looked at those experiences. I just wrote them all off until that point.
Did you ever have missing time?
I do. A little bit.
Sorry, don't mean to swat places here. It's just instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm like an abductee. Like now I don't. But then again, I do have some instances where I'm missing some time or had some weird stuff happen when I wake up in the morning.
Abductee. Maybe you were a contactee.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I wasn't scared in that experience.
Yeah.
I was just like angry that they found me.
That's really wild.
Yeah, like either with myself, I don't know. It was like I was like there was whenever I was having that experience, there was like a higher self that knew more.
Okay.
I don't know how better to explain that. Like there's another part of me that knew more, understood more, but I can't remember it.
Interesting. Yeah.
And again, that's easy to write off as a dream, and maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but like I said, speaking to contactees and speaking to abductees, it made me analyze these experiences.
Sure.
I woke up with a big round. Oh, why do we keep getting echo once in a great while? That was crazy. I woke up once with a big round circle on my face, like somebody took a cigarette and stabbed it in my face. I woke up. I remember getting up and I saw this pure, clear, perfect cylindrical pus thing. I'm guessing it was pus, but it was perfectly clear. Like it looked like a tube sticking out of my face in the mirror. I'm like, what is that? And I wipe it away and it was like a gel. And then what was left there was this perfectly round circle. And then it was gone within days.
Interesting.
My mom's like, what the hell is that? Would somebody burn you? I'm like, just weird things like that. I don't know.
Fascinating. Yeah, there's so much going on out there, and I think more happens to people than what we realize because they don't talk about it much. But if they did, and people started correlating their stories and exploring all of the avenues that are there with both abductees and contactees, and even people just having sightings, and taking that information and correlating it and building upon it and learning from it, I think we would be so much better off right now. We would really have a foothold to knowledge that we're sort of ignoring.
Yeah, and there are how many more, people out there like Billy Meyer, that are having regular conversations or contactee experiences, but they don't tell anybody.
Right. And there's a lot of them. There are a lot of them. I've talked to contactees that don't ever want their name mentioned. They don't want anyone to know what happened to them, but they had to tell somebody. And where do you go?
Right.
You talk.
Who's going to believe you?
Yeah.
It's one thing to be, I think people get like, oh, I have memories, I have flashes, I think I've been taken. But to say, no, they took me on their ship, we went for a ride. We had a conversation about the galaxy, took time travel, went and talked to dinosaurs. That's when people are like, oh, Jesus, No. And I get that. I understand that. You get into this world, you understand there's a possibility that these people really did. Look, there's what's the guy's name in Russia? I think it was a Russian province, whatever. He was like a governor or leader or something like that, or president. And he came out and said that aliens came and took him on a total ride up into space. Major government official, I think there's others.
There are a lot that have come forward. I mean, there are people that own huge industries in Italy, in France, in Spain. The Humo case in Spain was remarkable. All of these things, people that have money, that have power, that have all of that stuff can get out there and talk to others. They have the experience, but they'll tell one or two people and then they back off. They're afraid of being ridiculed. They're afraid of losing what they've acquired. They're
investors.
Yeah.
Bigelow seems not to be scared. He's been involved in this stuff for a long time. Now he's getting into near death and all that. But I think he has what used to be called arts parts.
Uh-huh.
Or had the stuff, the pieces that were sent to him that were supposed to be from a UFO.
Yeah.
And then he gave them to Linda Moulton Howe, who I think in turn then gave them to Bigelow. And those were the what was that? What's his name from Blink 182? Can't think of it. The musician that everybody's talked about the last few years. Tom DeLonge, yeah. That was the material, I think really was arts parts they got. Like, just this knowing, being an Art Bell fan and knowing that he gave it to Linda Moulton Howe, and then they say Linda Moulton Howe gave them this. I'm like, where's Art Bell's credit in this? But Bigelow's been involved in it, and he has a whole aerospace industry that's looked at this stuff. You wonder. I mean, I honestly think the disclosure doesn't happen.
Really, what's come out of that?
That's what I'm saying. What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not a lot.
No. And like I say, with the government, like with your Congress, like we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to, we need to know if there's funding happening to research. No, you won't get that because it's been co-opted many, many years ago and funneled out to these private corporations like Raytheon, and you can't do nothing to get that, it's proprietary, technology that they own.
Yeah.
No,
anything that's proprietary, you're not going to hear anything about at all. But no matter who does it, and this is where I really, truly hope the UFO groups out there, MUFONs and all of the others, get together and start really focusing on releasing more than just there was a sighting here, it happened there, so-and-so saw it. We need to get together and correlate the information.
Yes.
Put it together, put it out in a format so that people can discuss and learn about it. And that starts triggering the thought, which you managed to lose somehow. And then you can start thinking about it and getting creative and examining other things. Right now, we're not doing that.
No.
We've got a lot of note takers. And that's all.
Nobody's putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
No. And they're not trying.
No. I think there are some people trying. I do think there are some people out there really trying hard.
You guys are doing a good job.
I'm not a journalist. If I had the time, but I'm not a professional journalist. I couldn't figure this stuff out. But I think there are some good people really working on this. It's just we need more openness and more people. We need more people to get the data to them. We need more honesty.
The book you were talking about, Light Years,
mm-hmm.
I'll give you a classic example. You said earlier you go down the rabbit hole when you get into this stuff. Once you get it, you never get out of it.
No.
I mean, I've tried. You do not get out of it. It's part of life. But what happened with Gary Kinder when he wrote that book, he's an attorney. And he came in and reinvestigated our investigation. Followed up on all the people we talked to, even found a couple we didn't talk to. Gary, at the end of the book, was so confused. He didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It took him forever to write that book.
I bet.
He just put it on a shelf and said, I don't know if it's real or it's not real.
He doesn't know how to how do you process something that like you can't disprove or prove? You're just like, it opened up more questions than answers.
And part of the evidence is so solid, and part of it, it's not questionable. You know? So he literally shelved it.
Yeah.
And finally got around to saying, okay, I'm not going to make a commitment on it. I'm just going to, here it is.
This is what I know.
Yeah.
And I think that was an honest take. We got to go to commercial break. We're going to open up the phone lines when we come back with our guest tonight, Britt Elder. If you guys have questions for our guests, call in. Wait till after the commercial break, though. That's when I'll open up the phone lines, and I'll get those phone lines out to you. Don't forget to check out Super Chat or Patreon if you want to help donate to the show. $2 a month, $5 a month on Patreon. And you get access to our Patreon chat room, which I need to check, make sure I don't have any messages. But you can get exclusive messages to me in there if you do $2, even $1 a month on there. You get an exclusive message to me on the Patreon app, which I do see Adrian has been chiming in, and we'll get to those when I come back from the short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
Please, Spock, do me a favor. And don't say it's fascinating. No. But it is interesting.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID jblandoo or jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Britt Elders. She's an investigative author and documentary filmmaker. She's worked on the Billy Myers case. We've been talking about a lot of that. And a series of, over the years, of UFO investigations in Mexico I'd like to get more deep into tonight as well. But the phone lines are open. Have you had an experience you'd like to discuss with our guest tonight, Britt Elders? Call into the show. Join the conversation. Even if you've told us your story before, maybe you want to get Britt's perspective, call in. I do have Adrian in the Discord exclusive chat room that you can get on if you join us on Discord. Look up Jason Bland or Paranormal Soup, or find the link in the show description, and you can donate and be part of our Discord private chat there, and I'll get to her comments in a second. And we'll take your phone calls as you call in the show, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for hanging in there with us tonight, Britt.
Oh, of course.
All right. I want to get to, we got Adrian from the Discord exclusive chat there. She had a couple comments I thought were interesting. She said, I'm beginning to think most contacts where one's memory gets wiped is either black ops abduction or the knowledge is so sensitive it can't be. And I think that part cut off. Does anyone know anything about alien body types? I woke up one morning with a mark across my nose bridge. It's still there. I think it was part of a process to immobilize my head for some reason, but I have no memory. That's the problem. You have glimpses. I don't know if I can copy paste the screenshot I have, but I will try. It was my rebuttals to LMH claiming arts parts for herself. I bet you would. If not, I will email it a month later. On a different show, she tried to publicly correct her error. I think those are arts parts. Where else did she get them? I'm just saying, not to bring up that controversy, but I'm a big Art Bell fan, and I remember the arts parts.
Art Bell was a love. We did his show several times. He was great.
I probably heard you on there before. I was listening since like 95 or 96 is when I started listening.
Yeah, we did both on the Meyer case and on Mexico, because he really got involved with what was going on in Mexico. He was very curious there.
Yeah. So let's talk about, what was it? What were some of the cases you got involved with? What were you doing in Mexico? What was the whole phenomenon happening?
Well, Jaime tracked us down and had us come down and take a look at some of the footage that they had from the eclipse footage, which was the primary case that led into everything else. And it was all of these different people all over Mexico City taking images of the eclipse as it happened.
Yeah.
But what also appeared was this large tic-tac shaped object.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was being seen from every angle in Mexico City. So that was the beginning of it. It was like, what is this? What's going on? Then we got into a full-blown investigation. We started tracking the objects. We were talking to air traffic controllers, to airline pilots. Airline pilots, two of them, actually had extremely close encounters with objects. It took out one of the landing gears on one of the planes.
No. See, that's what I say. I want to see UFO. I've seen one when I was 16. My first major UFO sighting was really odd with 4 other people, and it was this huge thing that flew overhead, no lights, 600 feet up above Michigan City, downtown, middle of the night. Mm-hmm. I was amazed. I was still I feel honored I got to see this thing, whatever it was. I have no idea. But the last place I do not want to see one is when I'm sitting on a plane. I do not want to look out my window and see any unknown flying UAP, UFO, anything. Because I'm going to be William Shatner going, "You look at the window." I'm not going to do it. Not the place I want to see a UFO.
No, it actually broke the strut.
Wow.
And
so it hit?
It hit. It was flying underneath. It flew right in front, paced it for a while, and then it came in and flew right underneath, hit the wheel as it was coming down, broke the strut. They had emergency crews on the tarmac. Everything was fine, but when they pulled the strut, they could see it just something obviously
sheared off.
Yeah. And so that was one thing. But the air traffic controllers were so wonderful. They worked with us. We would go out and they would say, okay, here's something showing up on our screens. We don't know what it is. What does it look like from your perspective? And we had a group. Jaime put together a wonderful group called Los Vigilantes. And they were fabulous. They would go out all over Mexico City, which is such an enormous city. And when they saw something, then they would see if someone on another area, a different location, could also mark where it was, and they would triangulate what it was so they could get size and depth and dimension. It was really a wonderful time, but we tracked it to Popocatépetl, the sightings coming from the mountain there. Every time that volcano erupted, there were tremendous sightings. So
that's interesting.
Crew that came in and said, oh, this is normal. It happens with volcanoes. It's just fireballs. Okay. So these fireballs fly out of the volcano, into the volcano, out of the volcano, into the volcano.
Maybe out I can see because it's going, but how is it going in?
And then it hovers and it's there.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jaime put a camera up in Puebla, which sits right across. That's the city across from Popocatépetl. And they monitor that volcano 24/7 to see what's happening around there. We have over 10,000 videos.
I've done plenty on the World Wide Web of Weird of UFOs going in and out of volcanoes. Oh, yeah.
But we've got 10,000 videos over Mexico City, around Mexico City. The people, because they're so accustomed to it, and now everybody's looking up waiting to see these things.
Yeah.
They're taking these. We've got them flying in and out of clouds, going into a cloud, coming out a little higher, doing a loop-to-loop. Then they had what we call the fleets, because there would be hundreds of these objects in the sky at one time. January 1st, 1993, Mexico City, on Reforma, which is this huge avenue down the middle of Mexico City, people stopped and got out and laid on the car to watch the UFOs. It's amazing.
You know, I one of the things I wonder with the volcanoes and the mountains. I mean, think about Arnold's sighting was near Mount Rainier. I mean, it's always like mountains or whatever. I mean, Mount Shasta's got all that activity. Right. You know, it has whole communities. You know, there's talk of the underground bases. I mean, there's. I mean, was it? What's his name? Another radio host used to be on used to be on Coast to Coast. Oh God, dang it! Fade to Black. I can think of his show's name. Jimmy, I can't think of it. Radio host, whatever. He has a picture from where they saw a mountain, like a door open and a UFO go in.
Yeah,
you know, like it just seems like they're, you know, not only are they visiting us, they've been here and they have bases and are, you know, underground or they're all here. You know, they're not just some outside force, that they are part of this.
Right.
Ecosystem. You know, either they live underground or they have bases. They have some kind of self-interest in protecting this planet. If they're here, Jimmy Church. Thank you. I can't believe I can't think of his name for the moment. But yeah, you know, like, you know, it'd be interesting to take all those flight patterns and flight data. Like you said, you're trying to track down. You kind of like got it to that mountain area. You know, do you think that is it? That there is a base there in that volcano, and that's why you see them coming in and out?
Something is going on there. One of the contactees in Mexico said that what happens is they actually go into the volcano and take, excuse me.
It's all right.
Take energy from it.
So that's one of geotectonic, you know, forces going on there that you could harness that energy. I mean, I've seen it, you know, they say they show up near big, like, tropical hurricanes and other forces of nature that they might take energy from.
And lava flows.
Yeah.
A lot around them.
I mean, an interest in our planet. I mean, people are like, well, why would they even be interested in? They're not interested in. I wouldn't see them as much interested in us, but this is a planet with lots of different resources.
Yeah.
You know, it's the reason we take interest in third world countries is not because of the people there. We want to find a way to get their natural resources and find a way to mine it or take it. I mean, I just look at the perspective of there's a reason to have interest in this planet. There's not a lot of planets with these kind of resources.
But we also understand our means of propulsion. We don't understand theirs.
Right.
Are they actually utilizing this energy? I ask that because we followed a case in Childs, Arizona, where a delta-shaped craft was coming in and hovering over the power plants there. And the power plant contacted us to take a look at what was going on because they were losing energy.
Was it a nuclear power plant? No.
No, it was hydro.
Hydro. Wow.
It was generating enough power.
I mean, what would they need? I mean, you think if they have the technology they probably have access to, like, you think some kind of cold fusion, unlimited energy, or 0 point energy or something. They wouldn't. What interest would they have, like, in a hydroelectric plant? That's interesting.
Not so much the water aspect of it, but the power that's being generated, because it was a generation station. So they were pulling that. Same thing happened in other areas. I can think of Nevada, 2 cases. It's happened in New Mexico, in Utah. So yeah, they hover over the power lines and
like people
I mean, I've heard of it.
to charge now.
They got to charge their cell phones. I don't know. That just seems odd. Like, I mean, I always say, if they have the technology, if we got our hands and access to society as a whole on the technology, I think we're trying to reverse engineer and stuff we have. We're talking like possibly 0 point energy, things that could solve real world problems right now.
Right.
Because when we're trying to switch to green energies and stuff that aren't working so great sometimes, we could really use that alien technology with the 0 point energy that revolutionized things.
But maybe, I always think maybe they want us to figure something out, or it's almost like some sort of a reason why we're here.
Or they have the prime directive. They have like Star Trek prime directive. They're not allowed to give us any technology. But it doesn't sound like that. This goes for all the aliens.
I noticed, like, when we were having that weird atmospheric weather not too long ago, which was really crazy, and that I think is engineered, those weird shadows that I was seeing around all that Christina saw, my mom saw, and it was almost like they were coming down to look at this weird heavy energy storm that we were having.
That's interesting.
Well, if we're manipulating the weather, that would make sense. They're like, what is going on here on Earth? This isn't the weather pattern that should be. Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like Project Harp or whatever they're doing, if they're manipulating the weather as the theories go.
Well, they admitted that they are.
True, yeah. I mean, there's definitely Freedom of Information Acts and stuff they've said enough, I think, that we can know that we are definitely doing we're doing weather manipulation. You would think that would get their attention.
I would think so, because what are we doing to ourselves? I mean, they've got to be looking at it from the standpoint of what we do to us, because that could reflect on what we eventually do to them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting ready to go to Mars. This is not territory we're familiar with, but they would be. So what is it doing? I mean, what are we setting ourselves up for?
You hear from some contactees that I've had on the show say that we are not allowed to venture out into space, really.
It's been quite a few that have that they've actually been told that in some cases.
Right. That we're basically quarantined.
Yeah. We will be allowed to go so far and no further.
Right.
So it's a matter of baby steps. But they say that part of it is because it's not just about the physical aspect of being able to get out there and go. It's about where our hearts are, where our minds are. What is the underlying intent? Are we taking weapons? Are we saying, if we don't know what you are, we're going to shoot at you. Is it that
coming right for us?
Or is it, if we got straight in our head, in our heart, would they be more accepting of us? And that's why I say I think it's important for everybody to get together. And
I
really
believe it. I 100% believe it.
I think it's important. And we're not there.
Oh yeah, that's really evident. We do have somebody on the phone line here. We got 860 area code. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, Jason. It's Azariana.
Hey, Azariana.
How are you doing tonight?
Hey, thanks for calling in.
Yeah. I know. I'm repeating my story.
That's all right. I told you that's fine.
Okay. Well, since the age of 5, I was abducted by aliens, and they were the tall white ones. And, you know, I had the little pyramid shape or Hershey Kiss little stone.
Yeah.
And every time I knew they were coming, you know, that stone would like get colder and kind of like, I don't know, kind of like get blue.
I see. You said it glow, right? Like glow slightly. You could almost see it glowing.
Yeah, definitely. It would like light up. It would like get cooler, but it would like light up. And I had that for the longest time. And if you scratched it, it would repair itself. It was so light. It wasn't aluminum. It wasn't any, I mean, I'm not a scientist or anything, but it wasn't anything that would, I think, be typical of any rock or crystal that's on Earth. And like I said, no rocks repair themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, I did finally get rid of it. I got mad and I was yelling at them and the whole thing. And
well, didn't they take it or something? Like it disappeared?
They took it.
Yeah.
They took it. Yep, they took it. And I can't find it. And I'll never get it back, I don't think.
But don't say that. You know what? Why don't you have a positive attitude and just reach out to him and say, you know what? I'd like that piece of artifact or whatever you gave me back. I'd like it back. Sorry.
You know,
just apologize. Maybe they'll give it back.
Yeah, I keep asking, but I don't get an answer on that, you know?
I'm being serious. I'm being honestly serious on this. Like, maybe you should put out that intention or that want. I mean, I'm being honest too. I have a little, because I know if you do, you're going to call me, and you're going to
Yeah.
show me. You're going to show it to me. But I'm being honest with you. You should try.
Maybe they know if I get it back that it's. I'm going to take pictures of it and I'm going to send it
Yeah.
to you or anybody
How do you
else,
psych out the
know?
aliens? Like, I promise I'm not going to take pictures of this or call Jason Bland right away and let him know and show it on his show. No.
Yeah. But no, like I said, I got another implant, so they've been changing. I feel my DNA, and I can actually feel it within my, just in my body. So it's kind of weird,
Britt,
I have all the things, but
I was going to say, Britt, what's your thought on this? Because I mean, Billy Myers was given stuff, different materials and objects before. What's your thought on this? On her description of she's called on the show and talked about this item she was given as a contactee.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I don't know. Contactees are given little trinkets. I hate to say that, but
Yeah.
Billy was given crystals and things like that he was supposed to keep close to him. No reason why. Just here it is. It's a crystal we have. It's no different than what you have. That type of thing. But I love it, and I'm very interested in the implants. I know a lot of people that have undergone removal of implants and things like that, and it's something that again has got to be explored more.
Yes.
What are they getting from us that we need to know about? What can we learn from? And it's needs to be taken seriously.
Ziriana, what have you had that you think I know we've talked about it before, but implant wise in your experience?
Well, I'm getting a lot more, I say, downloads and information and messages telepathically.
Yeah.
And I know that they're, I always say they're tracking me, and I can always now feel when they either want to communicate or when they're nearby. They won't physically take me anymore because of, I don't know, maybe this implant is new and improved. I have no idea. But I can just feel changes, within myself, and I don't know, it's a blessing or a curse at this point,
My honest opinion on that, on the, like, your implant deal, like Terry Lovelace had amazing X-ray proof of his implants, and then they brutalized him and took them from him when he was because he decided to write the book. I've seen the pictures. It looked like he got hit by a truck after they took these things out of him.
Yeah.
To me, there is some element that is not contacty, that is forced abduction, not positive. I don't know if yours is that. Terry's, I think, is a my lab. He's had some experience that seemed like he's made a connection with certain beings, like the woman that showed up in his living room. But in the end, he was forcibly, they put stuff in his body. He had like Mexican radio signal station coming out of his knee. I'm not joking. That seriously happened. And he had poor health. He had where he used to weigh hundreds of pounds, and then he just started losing so much weight. He was eating like 6,000 calories a day to just keep any weight on his body. Now he's normal, but there's physical effects, and I don't know if you saw this recently. They've talked about that in the hearings, and about people having physical side effects to the UFOs or alien contact.
Well, I do know that, like I said, I can feel it. The implant has moved. Like I said, has moved from the original spot that they put it in, because I did try to remove it, and I was pissed at them. Yeah, when I was a kid and I was being abducted, I didn't, I wasn't scared. It was friendly. It was playful. It was, kid-wise, I felt safe and let's say loved, But like I said, when they started with the hybrid kids,
When you hit puberty, when they started,
yeah, that was horrible. So, like I said, with this new implant, I can't, I questioned it in the beginning because I said, well, why do you need me again? I got rid of you, that kind of stuff, and, I still wonder about it, but, I mean,
well, they're going to start if they're back to abducting, get a new implants, and you should ask for your trinket back.
Yeah, I really want it back at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
You said you were being downloaded. You were getting information. What kind of information are you getting?
Oh, I'm getting the end of the Earth future.
The Earth or humans?
Humans.
Yeah.
Again, it's what I didn't have to ask her. I knew because like that's typically the message. It's
And I'm not going to say what she's shared, but she has shared a few things with me that I can attest she's definitely.
I mean, it's doom.
Information.
Well, not uncommon, and it's almost like it's a wake-up call for us. You guys aren't going to make it if you don't get your act together, and that's why I said.
But they're talking to the wrong people. Can Azariana do anything to change that? No. Can Billy Meyer? No. Not really. I mean, we can spread the message, but like they need to go abduct some of these jerks up in the Pentagon, and they need to get some of these people at the military companies.
They won't listen, not unless it's going to make them money. I mean, that's just being real.
I don't know. I mean, you take them up on a space ride. I don't know.
What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that no matter what, no matter what, yeah, I'm like I said, they keep telling me, you know, all that kind of information, you know, and no matter what I could say, no one would listen to me, and the way that the government is, no, well, yeah, it's offensive.
Yeah.
I was going to say no offense, but they won't listen because they seem to think that, you know, we're the only civilization, we're the most intelligent, smarter, you know, things that are out there. And until they change their, you know, their idea of whatever, you know, they'll do their own agenda, you know,
Until
and
they
they
get us all
won't
blowing
interfere
up.
with us. Yeah, they won't interfere with us. The aliens, they won't save us. They won't interfere with us.
So you're,
you know.
Go ahead.
Do you also get different types of dreams when these downloads happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do they go along
Yeah.
with the visions, or are they just separate?
No, I get the messages first, and then at night I have these vivid, horrible dreams. I mean, I've seen them before. I won't go into it, but I've seen them before.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I can't cry anymore because it's our doing, you know, as humans. Well, not me specifically, but
It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault.
Yeah.
I blame you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's getting bad. You know, I've been seeing signs all over the place, and it's just continuing.
I
and
mean, turn on
getting
your
bad.
news. You can tell it's getting bad. They tell you nothing.
I don't
but
even watch.
Doesn't even watch.
Yeah, I don't even watch TV anymore.
I know, me neither.
Yeah, I can't watch TV anymore. So, yeah, but we I think sometime in November, my state is having, well, not my state, it's going to be in Massachusetts. They're having a UFO encrypted convention. Hopefully, I've been trying to network, and hopefully I can say something.
Oh, that'd be
Open up.
awesome. Let me know.
If they'll listen.
Yeah, they should.
If you need any referrals.
You know? I don't know. I've been trying to talk to one of the ladies who runs the thing, and because I'm trying to get a ride up there, and instead of driving,
yeah.
And it's like she's just, I don't know.
Because you know,
I can't talk.
get
I've got a
along
lot of people who try to get me to come to their conventions, and I've not done a single one ever.
Yeah, I just don't get along with her. I haven't told her anything about anything, so, you know, she doesn't know that aspect, but I do feel that it does have to get out. And if it's the same story, it's the same, you know, I don't know what reception I would get, but
Well, like you hear here from me, and you hear from Britt, is that this is a common theme between contactees and abductees, is the warning that we're destroying ourselves. So I don't think you'll be alone in your message.
Yeah, I understand that, but when you tell the normal, quote, normal average person, they go, oh yeah, okay, you know.
But that's why you go to the convention, because that's not where you're going to find the normal average person. I'm just telling you, you'll be among friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Azariana, for calling in and sharing tonight.
And thank you for talking. Yeah. Yes. Hopefully, well, you know, anyone wants to get in contact with me, you know, they can. So, you know. So, with this group, I feel safe. So, you know.
All
and
right.
you too.
Well, thank
Miss
you.
Britt.
Yeah,
So, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, I've got to say something to that, because going back to the Meyer case and other contactees too, they're all getting the message that we're messing up the planet. We think we're smart. We're not. We have a tendency to think that we can take a word and make it a reality. Green energy specifically.
Yeah.
It's got its downsides that nobody's talking about. Unfortunately, that we can take things from beneath the surface of the earth and it will create an imbalance, but nobody's talking about
fracking.
Yeah. Yes. So all of this is being relayed through a variety of contacts and abductions.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they're also saying to a lot of them, not everyone, but a lot of them, is if you change your thought process, if you shift the way you think, rather than with anger and with fear, but you become more open and receptive, then you get good ideas. That's when the communication with them supposedly really begins. But you've got to have that space where you're not pissed off at the world and you're not afraid of everything. And none of us are there anymore because we're so bombarded with all this crap constantly that
we're divided. We're
intentional.
So
yes,
intentionally. Yes, I talk about that on this show all the time.
It's constantly confusing. They're keeping us in this constant state of
because you have a crisis every other week.
Doom. Every other hour. Talk to some kids, teenagers, early 20s.
Oh, I do all the time. I know.
I mean, they don't want to have kids. They don't want to have a family. They don't want to have...
No, not only in that, it's not that they don't want to either. It's just they have no hope of it. Yeah. They don't have hope of it. I mean, how am I going to buy... I can't buy a house. I can't even buy a car, They can't, the hope I see is gone from these kids. We've stolen it. We've stolen it.
So we have to find a way to shift that.
Yeah.
We, the public, have to find a way to shift that. To get people to basically embrace life again. We're not doing that anymore.
Community, I think.
Community. Absolutely huge. Yeah, I live in a remote place. We have a little place up here that 500 people year round. That's it. It's great. And it's 20 miles from the nearest town, big town. But it's wonderful. And everybody looks out for everybody else. It's
helping home first and taking care of what you can control around you first and letting that love and that support.
But all those people in that community mainly own their homes and own their land and
a lot of them, and the land is not that much, but we have like community gardens up here where we have important.
But I'm still saying if you don't own anything, because the new thing is you'll own nothing, be happy. Or at least you'll own nothing. I don't know about the happy part.
Yeah, right.
But if you don't own anything, you have no investment in the community. You have no investment in protecting those around you or getting to know those around you.
You really don't have an investment in yourself either.
Yeah.
And that's, we've gotten to that point where we're no longer invested in ourselves. We no longer, because of that, are courteous to others, are respectful of others. So, yeah, I see a lot of things here that can shift dramatically. And it begins with thought, and it begins with how you view yourself and how you move that thought out into the world, and then how you react and relate to other people. And you have to, one of the things that I learned from the Meyer case, you cannot judge someone's experience. It's their experience. It is their truth.
True.
It's not mine. I didn't live it. But if they're willing to tell me this happened to them, I have to respect them for having that courage to step forward and say what they're going to say. So maybe if more of us stepped forward and said, we can shift things, we really can make a difference. And we can think and we can begin to communicate and make things work. And like I said, use your head and your heart.
And be mindful of each other.
Absolutely. So key. It's
a principle I teach to my kids is empathy and compassion and put yourself in other people's shoes. But one of the things I repeat all the time to them when they have their situations at school or whatever, And they're like, this person, blah, 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 and going off. And then I'm like, peace is every step. I learned that from Thich Nhat Hanh many years ago, lovely Buddhist monk. But I always have lived by that is like, if you want peace, you can't wait or expect others to take that step. You have to take the step. You have to live it. And you can't control what others do.
That's right. You see the way that they're keeping us completely divided on purpose and keeping us fighting about like mutable qualities and this and that, on purposely keeping us separated.
So
like I said, it's an intentful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they don't want the UFO community stop fighting. that works to their benefit.
I really wish they would stop fighting among themselves. They get so much more done, and it would be beneficial to everybody. And it's not new. It's been going on.
No, that's been going on a long time. Way before I was born.
But that's where they can come in and learn from each other if they will stand back and say, okay, that's your perspective, that's your truth. Now let's start communicating. That is so missing right now from everything.
It is, because I mean, we're not gonna figure this out if we don't start talking to each other and put two and two together. I mean,
that's right.
I like I said, if it wasn't for me doing the show and having the friendship with Terry Lovelace, I would have never looked back on my other experiences. Even though I'm into this and been into this and the weird, I just wrote those off as dreams. But when I learned from his perspective how that your mind can work like that, because he did that. He had amazing, phenomenal experience, totally abducted, like military involved, all this stuff, and then he wrote it off. He put it away out of his life, had a professional career as a DA, and he just wrote all that stuff off until he retired, and then it hit him. He saw Whitley Strieber's book, Communion. That's when it opened it all back up. It's that and then he writes his book and he opens it up. He's gotten so many emails from people after Incident at Devil's Den, because of other people reading that and making them wake into their experiences. We got another phone call I want to get to before we go to our last commercial break. Who do we got on the line? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, you're on air.
Hi. I have a question for Britt, and that is, you're the CEO. Hi, Britt. You are the CEO of ShirleyMacLaine.com. I'm gonna have to shut off the audio here for a second because
extinguish thy radio, as Art would say.
Yes.
So, Britt, as CEO of ShirleyMacLaine.com and a longtime friend of Shirley's, you know a lot about her personally and some of her personal injuries. Right. And I've heard that she has become a worldwide expert of sorts on Pleiadian contact cases, although she does not make that public or make a big deal about that. Would you care to talk about that at all?
Well, yeah. We introduced Shirley to the Meyer case. We actually took her to Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
And she spent a week with us at the Meyer farm. Shirley is a question machine. You'll never meet anybody like her. She's amazing. She can question anything. It doesn't matter what it is. She's got a question for it. She recorded 18 hours in 2 days of audio tapes with Billy Meyer. So this was something that really kind of got her going. But it was because she was writing out on a limb at a time. And she had done a thing with Charles Silva. She had done another contactee and Billy Meyer. So she combined those into one character for her book and her television movie. She's not, I don't know that I'd say she's an expert in Pleiadian cases, but she has looked into cases all over the world. We've taken her to Mexico with us. We've traveled together everywhere, and she's fascinated by the subject, absolutely believes that there needs to be more work done to learn more about what's going on out there in the universe. And then we can learn it here if we will communicate. That's why she loves interviewing all of these different people. And there was a period of time when she had a radio show on her website.
Yeah.
it was fantastic. I mean, we did everybody from Michio Kaku to, Dave Froning and these people that are creating propulsion systems. It was wonderful. But that's where she gets her knowledge. Is she actually gets out there and talks to the people, the contactees, the abductees. She loves the Pleiadian connection. She feels very tied to that personally because the Pleiades, as they say, probably were our forefathers or one of them. But she loves the history connection there. And that's really something that's important to her too, looking through all the different cultures of the world and how they play in each culture, ancient culture, from, cuneiform tablets to what was going on in Central and South America to Egypt to the Middle East. It's really something. So she's really gotten into all of that.
Are you still there?
And if I might be able to ask a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah, go ahead and ask.
Okay, regarding the Meyer case.
Sorry, you're cutting out. You're cutting out. You're really muffled at the moment. I don't know if you.
Okay, let me see if I can fix it.
Yeah, make sure you turn off the radio or the video in the background or mute it.
Yeah,
make sure you turn off the radio. That exactly, so we don't have that.
Okay, here we go. It's muted.
Okay, there you go.
All right. I'll learn how to do this eventually. I'm a novice at calling.
You're all right. You're all right.
So, Britt, can you talk a little bit about the American and British intelligence agencies' interest in the Meyer case and how Wendell and Lee were followed in Europe during the time that they were beginning these investigations? And then the bullet at Meyer's compound.
Oh, I forgot about
in the Contact movie. And the possible infiltration of his circle by intelligence agents.
That I wonder. That's what I asked earlier. Is is there bad actors within that circle that could be putting disinformation in there? But that I'll stop. You let her answer.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to the assassination attempts on Billy first. Yes, Wendell was present when there was an attempt on Billy's life. Had Billy moved a half an inch one direction or the other, it would have hit him. And the bullet instead went right between them into the wall of the barn there. And so, yeah, and that's all been photographed and documented, but it's not the only attempt on his life. There have been numerous attempts.
Wow.
One quite recently, just within
really?
Yeah, one within the last year. So
really, all these years later, and it's still going on?
Yeah.
Wow.
And each one of them seems to have people present, seeing it, experiencing it. So, and he gets a feeling. He just knows that he needs to move forward or, do something different. So he's protecting himself that way.
Using the force or something.
Mm-hmm. And then as far as being followed, yeah, that happened. It happened to all of us.
Oh, I bet.
Coming out of Switzerland, it was quite interesting. We had 11 by 14 photographs of UFOs. Huge. In a big yellow Kodak box. We were carrying metal samples, sounds, clips of movie footage. And yeah, we got on a train because we were going to go see another contactee up in Amsterdam. Got on a train and we were tailed from the time we left Zurich until we got into Amsterdam.
They were on the train with you?
They were on the train with us. I mean,
Oh.
we marched into our compartment and sat down.
Oh my God.
Yeah, German.
And he's like German, but black suit, black, a white shirt, tie, kind of Men in Black kind of deal.
And so, that was kind of interesting. And from Amsterdam, we were going into London. And we had a friend with MI6 that we knew from Intercept from our company. And we called him when we got into London and we said, we got a problem. We got people on us. And so they put us up at a place in London. And that was nice because we were carrying all this material. We had no idea, value or no value, dollar-wise, didn't matter. But what could be learned from it was a whole nother thing. But we eventually sort of came to a truce with a lot of these agencies and just said, look, we want to get the analysis done. When we get the analysis done, we'll share. Leave us alone. We'll give you whatever information we get. We're not going to try to.
You think that's all they wanted, or I would think they'd want to shut you up.
They had no reason to shut us up.
They just wanted the info.
They wanted the information. We came back. We did volume 1. Everybody said, "Oh my God, they're going to blow up the presses. You're never going to get that book out." This will give you an idea. This is volume 1. Okay, it's a big book. Yeah, never happened. Nobody will ever see it. We had no problems whatsoever. When we made the film Contact, we had no problems. But we consistently put the information we gathered through all forms of analysis out there. We weren't trying to hide anything. We just wanted it to be there. We didn't have any problems after that train trip out. That was it. We didn't have any problems after that.
You gotta watch out for his radio echo. Does that answer your questions? Watch out for his radio echo. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. But I could talk to Britt all day. But yeah, take a chance. I'll go ahead and say goodnight and thanks very much, Jason.
Well, thank you. Great questions. Great questions. Yeah, just remember to extinguish thy TV, video, or radio. I used to love the art to be like, extinguish thy radio. That's why I try to tell people they don't get it. It goes over their head.
The one thing that you were talking about with the bad actors, what people didn't realize was right above Billy's house was a military base.
Really?
Right up the hill. Yeah. And when we would go in and we would be testing, when we did the radiation tests, because Tom Welch made arrangements for radiation detectors through a major company.
And that gets, certain agencies pay attention to that.
That's right. They were very observant of what we were doing. Yeah. Because everything was hot. Really hot. Gamma rays. Lots of problems. Yeah.
Well, look, we want to know about it. Area 51 got officially confirmed because employees of Area 51 had gotten so irradiated from the toxic waste that they're dumping off. They don't want the EPA or Congress to know about from the military. That these people were getting sick and getting lymphoma, cancers, and they had to sue the government and they had to admit it is a real place.
Yep. So you've got this military base up there looking down on Billy Meyer all the time. So they're aware of what's going on. Bad actors, in the beginning, I don't think so. Later on, absolutely.
Later on, yeah, I would think so.
Theft. It was really theft. But
well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's where some of this has gotten out there that's tried to discredit him.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know of individuals who intentionally, they made a name. And I won't name names. They know who they are. But they made a name by literally taking a ruler and a pin, a needle, and drawing a line to the craft from the top of the photograph.
Oh,
I don't know.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's, if you can't beat them, join them. And you can look back into the 1950s UFO thing. Hoover from the FBI was putting FBI agents in these UFO groups because they were afraid they were teaching them communism.
Right.
our government's had an interest. You can find it through Freedom of Information Act, where we monitored and put agents in UFO groups.
That's been going on for a long, long time. That's when Hynek first got started.
Hynek, yeah, Project Blue Book, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was, he tried to do the best he could with Project Blue Book, but obviously he was railroaded the whole time, to actually do anything serious research.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we got swamp gas from that. We got the swamp gas explanation from that whole thing.
The swamp gas is still there. Yeah.
But I'm saying that I feel like we're in Project Blue Book 2.0. It's like we have to address this thing to make people more that we're doing something.
Right.
Because it's now we have video and cameras and internet, and they can't. There's too much freedom of information, even though there's not, but there is too many resources for people to get the information out there. So now they got to address it.
Right. Well, what are they going to address it with, and how?
Right. Well, I think a bunch of long, boring hearings that really say nothing is how they're going to do it. I mean, look at the evidence that they have presented. Some of that now, like the one I remember when they presented it was I forgot, it was like night vision footage, and you see a triangle glowing above them. And I said then, I go, that's not that it's fake, but that's misunderstood. That's the iris of the camera. Several investigators pointed that out. And I called that out on my show. I gave credit to those investigators. I can't remember now, sorry. But they pointed out that's the iris the way it is. It could be a drone. It could be a drone up there. And I said, look, they're presenting this now because later they're going to go say, oh, well, this was not really a UFO.
Right.
And then they just had the one in the Middle East where you see like a kind of like grayish ball like that floats through. And now, then they presented that. Now they come out with scientists saying, "Oh no, that is just a party balloon."
Yeah.
Yeah, Mylar balloon.
That's what they tried to say about the things down in Mexico. Okay, that it was Mylar balloons when these came in over Mexico City.
The modern day swamp gas, yeah.
Unfortunately, they showed up on radar.
Yeah, which wouldn't happen.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I want to check. We got to go to commercial break. We got somebody on the phone line. Who do we got on the line?
It's Adrienne from Connecticut.
Hey, I thought that was you. Hey, can you hold on for the commercial break?
Sure can.
All right. Yeah, we'll come back with Adrienne after the short commercial break. We got about a half hour left of the show with our guest, Britt Elders, investigative author and documentary filmmaker. More when we come back from the short commercial break.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an Apex Studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest has been Brit Elders. She's an investigative author, documentary filmmaker. We're taking your phone calls this last half hour of the show to ask questions. I got Adrian waiting on hold now. Phone lines are open after she gets off. You remember, I only got my 2 lines, but 219-230-4444 is one way to call in. 260-225-9419 is the other number. And there's also the Skype way. Call in by Skype ID oojblandoo or jblandparanormalsoup. Those are the ways to call in. We're running out of time. Time goes by so fast on here, so let's go ahead and get back to our guest. All right, we got Adrian here on the line. Let me get her on and get everybody back up on the panel. There we go. All right, Adrian, you still there?
Yep, it's showtime.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I had a question for you, Britt, and I'm not sure if you will be able to answer. Regarding off-planet alien species, the Pleiadians seem to be the most prominent as far as friendly contact. A lot of people talk about them, and these species claim to not interfere with humanity. But I was wondering, has anyone claimed that they've ever been implanted, had an implant from a Pleiadian?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It might be something that the contactee or the person doesn't recognize or isn't aware of, but not that I've ever heard of. The Pleiadians are a primary group, again, going back through history, but also Arcturians. The Hopi Nation is steeped in lore about Arcturians coming to visit. Sirius 1 and 2, A and B. A lot of different groups there. Yeah.
Because I'm beginning to think that most implants are either from somewhere on Earth already, or those who are working with maybe Black Ops or
the
something
MyLab
like
deal.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had multiple implants in multiple areas, and it's just, it makes you wonder. I've had some good experiences, and the latest one was very interesting. So, but I've had some bad ones. Can
I ask you a question? Was the experience good relating to the implant?
I'm sorry, you said, can you repeat that?
Sure. Was the experience that was good, did it relate directly to the implant?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, and I've never seen the same species twice, and I've had experiences since childhood. The last one was a very tall being. The ship was huge. I've never seen the outside of the ship. I've only seen insides, but he was talking about the new Earth. And my problem is I only seem to remember the last 10 to 30 seconds of every experience, or none at all, but I know I've had an experience, or I've had missing time.
Yeah.
Right.
But in general, the last one, I was calm. I was had just finished taking notes on some kind, I'll call it like an iPod. I don't know what it was in my hand. But, he's talking about the new Earth. It will be considerably larger than this one, he said.
Oh.
And, he reminded me of a tall white. He was white, but almost a little blue. Yeah, the way he was dressed, he had on a tight light blue, two-tone, I'll call it like a skin suit, but a huge silver triangle from like belly button area up to the shoulders.
Uh-huh.
And then a sleeveless smock on. I don't know if he had 3 fingers in the thumb or 4 fingers in the thumb, but the eyes, they weren't slanted, but they were really wide horizontally.
What were the color of the eyes?
He had an eyeliner.
What was his eye color? I mean, you could see irises? Or...
No, I couldn't, because he was tall, like 7.5, 8 feet tall, and he was looking down at me, and his eyes were kind of half-masked. But the top of the eyelid, where our eyelashes are, almost look like eyeliner, Egyptian-like, very long. And, I saw there's like a huge, long dashboard with all sorts of little buttons and things that was about 20 feet behind him. Like I said, this ship was huge. But before that, I think I was on a new Earth. There was nothing alive there yet, animal or human-wise. It was just water, and it looked like about 20 years' growth almost. It was very interesting.
Wow.
But that was just one of many. Yeah, so I've been trying to find out, because you keep on hearing about new Earth, and I've heard somebody else say the new Earth is supposed to be bigger, but you hear so many things from all over the place, you really can't nail it. And I'm just going to wait and see what happens. But thanks for answering my question.
Absolutely.
Sort of.
Ask you one. Did the individual have an insignia of any kind on the uniform he was wearing?
Not that I can recall, because he also was wearing a sleeveless smock, so it did kind of cover a little bit left and right of the chest area.
Okay.
I've never seen any insignias that I can remember. I mean, I've seen grays underground. I was in a ship underground, and I've been, small vehicles with an insectoid being never seen an insignia.
Okay. I asked because there's a group of these tall whites that you're talking about. They actually have very, very pale, almost like a silver blue eye. But quite often they're seen with an insignia that is a little like what you would relate to as a medical insignia. There seems to be a serpent swirled around something. Yeah.
What you would call it? The
yeah, I can't think of it either.
Yeah.
But anyway,
but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I asked. But that's a fascinating thing that you've got going on with so many different civilizations.
Yeah, and I don't know why I haven't remembered the same one twice. But like I said, I mean, I know I've been taken and brought back within 20 minutes, but I don't remember the experience in between it.
You know why? You say you don't remember the same aliens twice, is that you say you remember the last 30 or so seconds or glimpses, is your brain's holding on to something new. So it's like the first time you meet another alien species, like you've already seen the Greys a billion times, so you're not remembering it now. But the first time you run into your first draconian, reptilian creature or some insectoid, that sticks to your subconscious and your mind, and you can't let it go even with the repressed memory. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, well, the insectoid one, he had like a grasshopper head with little feelers, and his mouth was making squishy sounds, and it really freaked me out. I liked him. He was so fatherly and so kind, but I just wasn't into the bug thing, but I got over that by handling bugs, with the magnifying glass, looking at their mouths, and yeah, I mean, it was just the thought of, don't bite me. I don't know, gave me the willies, but I wish I could see him again. I really liked him. But, whatever. I was told by someone else that he was an ambassador. I don't know what that means totally in any detail, but the vehicle was very small. And we weren't that far off the ground, and we were observing other people. And he actually tipped it so I could watch the other people. It was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
That was a long time ago. Yeah. And, you don't know that these things are real, but you stumble across information. I actually saw back in the 90s a show that showed other insectoid beings, being alien related, and I said, "Oh my God!" Otherwise, that was in the beginning of me trying to find out information.
Right.
But now I know a lot more, much more.
It's really interesting.
Thank you.
More and more people are having contacts with more than one group, and that's kind of a unique thing in itself. And it's only been going on really for the last 5 or 6 years that people have been coming forward and saying, I've been talking to this one and that one, and sometimes they don't know where they're from. They just know how to physically identify them as being different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no matter where I am, I'm having experiences. I've been here for 23 years, and besides the contact experiences, I've had lights and orbs, huge, really cool stuff, flying around, and of course, followed by helicopters the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually had that experience myself.
Yeah. Yeah, they buzz you. They're
I did. I never thought I would, but I did.
Yeah. Very end. They follow right over where my, 50 feet away, I would see something, and there are helicopters there. They know it. They must leave a signature of something.
Mine was a phone conversation with Terry Lovelace, and a half hour later, I got a helicopter buzzing my house.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker than writing you a letter.
Yeah.
You're right. All right, you have a good night. I'll let someone else call in.
Thanks,
Thank
Adrian.
you so much. Bye.
Yeah, I was on the phone with Terry Lovelace. I still can't talk about what we were talking about because it was still stuff I don't think he's disclosed, but something he was working on, and we were talking about it. And literally not less than a half hour off the phone with him, and me and my wife are upstairs, or I'm downstairs. I was just getting off the phone. I had gotten off the phone with him. I was hanging out downstairs, and I could hear something weird, and I come upstairs. She goes, "You hear that? The helicopter has been buzzing. It's over our house. It's been like 5 minutes. It hasn't left. It has to be hovering over our house because it was so loud." I'm like, "Yeah." As soon as I open the door, it finally takes off. It had to have been like literally hovering over a house, and it takes off and goes really low, like almost right over the power lines and over the. I have air traffic and all that stuff. I've never had a helicopter come that low. I mean, it literally had been buzzing my house. And I talked to Terry like a week later, and he starts mentioning about how his sister and them were having these helicopters, and he was showing me pictures and photos of helicopters. He goes, well, it's weird because after we talked, I had a helicopter.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's like, well, we were on the phone. I guess they were listening to the phone, but like, how do they snap? Well, let's get a helicopter over that guy's house. Nobody cares about me. Why would they throw a helicopter over my house? I don't know. It was what we were talking about. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Well, you can't share what you were talking about with him.
No, because he hasn't really disclosed that part ever, as far as I know. And at the time, we were like, yeah, well, I won't say anything. This is confidential. Something he was working on with somebody. Yeah. And I think he got a little too close to something maybe and piqued some interest. I mean, he probably, his book, like I said, was eye-opening for me. And he definitely has military interest in what he's been involved in. I think he's a MyLab, honestly. That it's a heavy. That's the thing, though. How many? Like, I've had Nick Rudford on the show several times, and one of the interesting stories that always stuck with me, he told me, was a kid he interviewed who believed he was an abductee and all this stuff, but that he had been stopped by like Men in Black. But I wouldn't say they were like your typical Men in Black, more like military special ops, unmarked uniforms that took him in the back of a van, and basically, in so many words, if I remember this right, sorry, Nick, told him that he's like a sleeper cell, being an abductee, that they were worried that whatever, that he could be activated at any time. They had to be careful. Or like, basically, like they know about abductees and that they are picking them up, like the MyLabs. Some of them aren't MyLabs, they're just being picked up by the military because they know that they're a contactee.
Right. Wow.
And maybe it's a little of both. They are MyLabs, but were a contactee. But because they're a contactee, the military co-ops it and makes them into an experiment.
Sure. Yeah. It's hard to say with so many different things going on. It's practically impossible.
Like I said, it's the pieces of a puzzle we're trying to put together. And the only way is through people like Adrian and Terry's and yours and other people's experiences. And that's the only way we're going to start trying to get any kind of an idea or picture of what is really the heck going on.
Right. And which side is it coming from? Is it coming from out there or is it coming from here?
Is it coming from the future? Possible future? Like, are they time travels?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
If time doesn't really exist.
Right.
Yeah. And it's all happening simultaneously. Getting into quantum stuff there, then.
Well, I mean, just even if you're traveling in space, like she talks about, Adrian says that the tall whites or these taller, skinny. I mean, if you're living in a spaceship out in space, you're gonna, have your physiology is going to be different because one, you're living in more, artificial gravity, or you're from a planet that has a different gravity than we do. Like if you lived on Mars long enough, or you developed and were born on Mars, and that gravity, your body would actually get elongated a little more than a human on Earth because the gravity's different. Your body would develop differently.
But then we're judging with the perspective and parameters that we have on this planet. And we might not be able to do that.
I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I always love when he chides humans for trying to judge what aliens do. Like,
right.
You're judging that under human moral perspectives, but you got to judge under the alien,
Yeah, because we don't know how different it is throughout the universe with each culture or each planet, anything like that.
Well, like I said, the physiology, they could be human. They could share the same DNA as us, but they physically would look different than us because they grew up in a different environment.
Right.
I mean, think about the Greys. I honestly don't think most of them are biological, the little ones. I think they could be something cybernetic or artificial, maybe, like little worker drones. But even still, the big eyes. Nothing in nature.
Like for radiation, perhaps, like a protection from radiation, or like the eyes, like a protection from the sun, or...
Well, that's what I'm saying about the eyes. If you look at nature and animals, we all have very smaller eyes usually because you don't want your eye plucked out. We have a lot of sharp things in our environment and things that could harm our eyes. But if you grew up artificially in an artificial environment where you didn't have those dangers, and in lower gravity, your body could develop differently. You could have bigger eyes. Look at the hybrids they talk about always having bigger eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really true. Yeah. So many possibilities out there that need to be played with. Ugh.
Well, it makes your brain hurt if you think about space travel, because time's relative. Exactly. You know, the closer you are to a black hole, your time is going to be slower. The faster you go towards the speed of light, your time reference is going to be slower.
Yeah.
You know, they say these aliens could live for thousands of years. Well, they could. It would be, with time dilation.
And how do you determine time? Time is based on Earth, on, sun and the moon and things like that. But it may not be the same someplace else.
Yeah, if you're on Mars, it takes you 2 years of our year to get around the sun.
Right.
Well, we got another caller I want to get before we run out of time. We got Dan on the line. How you doing tonight, Dan?
Good. How are you, Jason?
Doing good. Thanks for calling in.
I was going to kind of comment on what you was talking about there, as far as the big eyes. But, humans are the most inept creatures, to adapt to their environment.
Right. We're not even built well. Yeah, we get sunburns and we get, we're not really great for this environment. Yeah.
We don't have any protective layers or fur or nothing to protect us from the sun or the cold or,
Yeah.
It's like we just don't belong in this environment.
We were mixed with something that doesn't belong in this environment, maybe. I've said that on the show all the time, that humans weren't, if you compare us to all the other creatures, we weren't really made to be adapted very well to being naked and running around if we had to.
Yeah, it's kind of, it makes you think when you think about it, though. But I was going to kind of touch on maybe a repeat subject, about my triangle experience.
That's fine.
That
we got about 10 minutes left.
It kind of came back to me because I had PTSD, so some of this stuff throughout my life slowly came back, and you remember forgetting it and remembering it, and you get that memory back. But the triangle thing was the most profound of the other weird things, because it was so close, so loud, and so bright, and it was, it couldn't have been more than 50 feet above the ground.
That's pretty close.
It was a huge lot with basically two trailers on the bottom corner. One of them was mine. But this thing, I remember my ex-wife waking me up, and I remember the light just poured through the blinds.
Yeah.
And when I look out that window, man, seeing that thing come across, and it's kind of doing a slow spin, and it completely lit up this pitch black area with its red and its slightly bluish white lights on each tip. And they were just full blaze. And this thing was loud. There's no quiet about it. It was loud.
What was the noise? Like when you say loud, when you say it was loud, Dan, what was the noise though? What was that noise like? What did it sound like?
It's like if you put a ton of helicopters together and let them run. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
But with a more whiny sound to it, I guess.
Maybe they have an engine problem.
Maybe. But it was enough to shake the house.
And
you could feel it. Something like that. It has this presence to it. That's the best way I could describe it, as a feeling of like total presence. Like you could feel it.
I know that feeling from my experiences. We all looked up, but we didn't hear. That didn't make any sound, but we all, for some reason, all five of us just looked up. And there was this thing that went right overhead. And I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why at the time why I looked up or why they did. I just felt this weird buzzing feeling in my head, and I just knew to look up, and there it was.
It's just like almost a feeling like being surrounded by people or something. You know, it's just presence.
Or like time slows.
Power. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and I've had more memories return of this, you know, where I remember a knock at the door, and I remember going to answer it, and that's the last thing I remember until I'm outside, kind of sitting outside the trailer, and I'm watching this thing kind of arc up, I don't know, about 45 degrees. I mean, it's coming right towards me. And then it ascended quite high, maybe, I don't know, maybe 100, 150, 200 feet. And all the lights were dimmed out on it.
Yeah.
You could see its shape. I mean, I was close enough I could see detail on this thing. But when it was going away, you know, it had, you know, it looked like 3 pinpoint lights on each corner. Each corner had a little pinpoint. It's almost like looking at LED lights. They were bright but small.
Yeah.
And of course, you had the red was in the middle. It was really kind of hazy. It was like a low red, and it was surrounded by 6 other lights in the middle. And I just watched it as it went away, you know.
Did you have a question for Britt on that, or?
Oh,
I just wanted her take.
Yeah, it's the forgetting of things, because PTSD is weird like that. How it brings things back to you.
Yes.
In a sense where you'll remember it happening, and you remember everything.
The brain compartmentalizes these things. That's what I've talked about earlier. It's like you're wired to look away from it.
But you know, there's something
it's almost like they're little traumas.
Yeah, hold on. Go ahead.
You're not alone in what you've experienced, especially with this triangle-shaped craft.
Yeah.
I was telling you about earlier with the Delta Wing over Childs, Arizona, and taking the energy from the power line. The couple that had a house right next to that, the gentleman was just like you. He was awakened by the house literally shaking.
Oh, wow.
And it was a huge triangle overhead, shining a light down on their house. He went out the door and doesn't remember anything other than taking one step out the door. And it took him...
Same experience.
Yeah, exact same experience. And I can tell you about 2 others that had the exact same experience. You step out the door, and it's almost like you've invited in whatever that is up there. And then they come back, and the people do not recall being gone, where they were, what was discussed, any of that, until they hit usually a little bit different spot on the front porch or the back porch. And then it's like the shock of, did this really happen to me? What happened? And you have to process all of that. And it's such an emotional aspect. I really feel for you with what you're going through with the PTSD and with what that's bringing up for you. But I think maybe if
it continues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. If you relaxed a little bit with it, you might be able to have more recall of what was discussed between the 2 of you, or the group of you. And that might be interesting for you to get through that and help release some of that PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what it's from. You know, it's from a different...
Doesn't matter. It'll all build up together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
I thought that was pretty, like, nobody else had anything close to that happen.
She just told you a bunch of people did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I told you, Dan, you're not alone.
No.
No, not at all.
Well, thank you for calling in, bud.
Yeah.
Hang in there.
Everybody.
All right. Have a great night, Dan.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
See, when I think, sometimes I think like Billy Myers, the ships he was getting a lot were saucer shaped,
Right.
And there's been sightings that, Terry had an early childhood memory of looking out his window and seeing one of these things come down, and another time when he was a kid seeing a silver one flying above him up in the clear sky.
Uh-huh.
But later in his life, him and his buddy go on this camping trip out in Devil's Den, Arkansas, and this huge triangle ship with like a blue light, he said, little blue beam light came down, and then that's when all hell broke loose. And then they have missing time and memories. They wake up to seeing little creatures outside under this big triangular ship. Right. And then them being just completely irradiated sick, like so sick they both ended up in the hospital, and then they're being investigated by OSI, because they were both in the Air Force at the time. And him having a whole interrogation where he was put under hallucinogenic drugs to try to get him to like tell the truth.
Yeah.
And the military guy thinks he's out of it. This medical guy, who's a colonel, he's totally talking about the abduction phenomenon, knows about it. This is the 1970s. I'm saying that they know these things are going on. They're a part of it, but it seems like there is different forces here. Like Terry got taken by maybe some good aliens, and then later in life the triangle ships show up and they're bad. Have you seen any evidence that the triangle ships are some kind of military, maybe, or some other element of alien force that's not so great?
Yeah, I would say not so great. Could be something related earthbound, but I think there's something else going on with these triangle ships.
There is a patent. There's I can't think of the guy's name, a very incredible physicist guy who made a patent of a actual electromagnetic drive triangle ship. It was patented by their military.
Right. And we might be flying them. And
maybe that's why they need to use our energy grid.
But what are they doing with people's minds?
Right.
Because so many individuals that have encounters with triangle ships they don't remember anything. They remember that beam of light. They remember taking a step and then nothing. So what's happening to their minds? What is being used to erase their thoughts? And then they're delivered back, or did they even go someplace? Is it just
or is it a side effect of the machinery they're using that causes people's minds that are standing under it to be blanked out? I don't know.
But what would let's just suppose for a second, it is our military. What would our military be doing flying over mining operations, power lines, any place where they could garner energy? And literally draining the power lines. What would they be using that for? Because I don't know that we've got the knowledge. I think we probably have the technology, but I'm not sure we have the knowledge to pull that kind of energy. I don't know.
Yeah. I would think if there is something that our military has, they have to be in cooperation with some other alien force. They couldn't just reverse engineer it. They had to have even more help than that. And a cooperative involvement with some other alien species. Right. That's the take I get. We're already out of time. Man, time goes by fast.
This has been so much fun. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Britt, for coming on the show so last minute. Thank Brenna, too, for working hard to get you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. We've covered a lot of topics. And
it's a paranormal soup every time.
That's a way to do it.
But that's it, guys. That's the end of the show. We won't be back next Sunday. Sadly, I have a work obligation that night. I got to let my guests know I had scheduled. I got to get them rescheduled. Peter Benson was it, but we had him on not too long ago, so we're going to reschedule later. But yeah, I have a work obligation that night. It would be kind of really close to do a show, and I hate missing one because it's the holidays, so I'm going to miss some other shows too, some Sundays. But we'll be back in full gear by the time we hit December, I'm sure. After Christmas, definitely. I got guests booked into already January and February, so we're getting booked up. Continue to go into the 2024. Thank you, everybody who shares the show. Keep telling your friends about Paranormal Soup, where the weird happens live every Sunday night. Thank you, Britt. You were an excellent guest tonight. We definitely got to get you back on again. We'd love to have you. All right, guys, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, keep telling your friends about Paranormal Soup, where the weird happens live every Sunday night. And if you want to help out this show, you can donate on Super Chat on YouTube or go to our Patreon page. You can find the link in the show description. $2 a month, $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever you feel you can help donate to the show. You can get part of our exclusive Patreon chat room and talk to me live during the show. Thank you, Adrian, too, for being in there, being a Patreon member and talking to us tonight and calling in. Double the fun. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. See you not next Sunday, but the following Sunday.